Chapter 16, You're not willing to kill me, are you? Jiang Hanying thought about it and couldn't come up with a result. She really couldn't understand why Wei Xiao refused to take her money. Whether it was fighting the cancer disease or normal human thinking, it was logical that there was no reason not to accept it. In particular, Jiang Hanying herself could feel that Wei Xiao actually didn't like herself. After all, he had bumped into someone else, and the other party didn't like him. Jiang Hanying understood. But there was absolutely no need to not want the compensation because of this. Does he think we gave less? Jiang Hanying thought for half a day and finally couldn't help but ask. Can't you understand? People are disgusted with our money, not less. These are two concepts. The more Vivian thought about it, the more angry she became, and the words that came out of her mouth crackled and exploded like a series of cannons. If he really thought it was too little, I wouldn't be so angry. You have no idea how arrogant that kid was when I was on the phone with him. It was as if he would die if he took our money. That disdainful demeanor, it was simply abhorrent. Also, he doesn't even want to know how much money we want to give him. After hearing Xiao Wei's words, Jiang Hanying, who was sitting on the sofa, instantly fell silent because she suddenly remembered the scene from last night. Life and death have their destiny, wealth and riches are in heaven. In the underworld, everything is predetermined. Wei Xiao's casualness as well as disdain when she said that. Jiang Hanying remembered it so clearly. These two words seemed ordinary, but they seemed to contain a marvelous implication, like the great Tao is the simplest, and one could never help but want to look back on them. And every time one recalled them, one would have different feelings and understandings. Can't see that he's quite talented, these two words I've never heard anyone say before. But it should be hard for someone like him to fight the disease alone, right? Grandpa passed away too. It's all because of me that he didn't even see his grandfather one last time. The more Jiang Hanying thought in her heart, the more guilty she felt. At the same time, she suddenly understood why Wei Xiao was unwilling to ask for their compensation. How could such a spontaneous, yet talented person be burdened by money after knowing that he would not live long? However, even though Jiang Hanying knew all this, he still couldn't turn a blind eye to it. As the perpetrator, Jiang Hanying had to suppress this matter because of her identity. However, with a kind heart, she couldn't accept her inaction. No, this money must be given to him. Otherwise, the cancer condition alone. Thinking of the seriousness of Wei Xiao's condition on the hospital's examination statement, Jiang Hanying gradually became firm in her eyes. Such an innocent, filial, spontaneous, money-loving, and talented person, she must save. I'll call him, give me the cell phone. Jiang Hanying suddenly opened his mouth, startling Vivian, who was busy. But a hint of mockery quickly surfaced on Xiao Wei's face. As if to say, chick, you'll know in a moment how irritating it is to call that kid. In a noodle shop with a good business. Wei Xiao ordered a bowl of big chopped noodles and was eating hot. The prices in Mordor were really high. In Wei Xiao's hometown in his previous life, a bowl of big chopsticks was only $10. However, in Mordor, a bowl of noodles was sold for $30. This makes Wei Xiao eat extraordinarily energized, and there is even soup are not willing to let go of the momentum. But today is destined to be an extraordinary day. Noodles just finished, ready to sweep the noodle soup also to clean. Wei Xiao not yet had time to do it. The cell phone rang. Looking at the caller ID, Wei Xiao was silent. After a few seconds passed, he picked up the phone. Hello. Aha. Wei Xiao's expression was very calm as he faintly said. Something's up? I still have some things at your house. Is it convenient for me to go over and get it now? Hearing this, the corner of Wei Xiao's mouth subconsciously raised. Convenient, when will you arrive? Half an hour later, I'll give you a call when I arrive. Good. After saying that, Wei Xiao directly hung up the phone. But looking at the name on the screen, Wei Xiao was a cold smile. The one who called him was Chen Shui, Wei Xiao's ex-girlfriend. Only, this ex-girlfriend broke up with Wei Xiao a few days ago. At that moment, the current Wei Xiao hadn't crossed over yet. So in fact, this matter and the current Wei Xiao actually had nothing to do with it. But he still couldn't look at it. The two are university classmates, can be said to be childhood sweethearts, love is incomparable. But after graduating from college, just 2 months, Chen Shui and he broke up. The reason is very simple, said it is not suitable. But what is not suitable? It's just that Chen Shui was lucky and applied for a job in a big company. Then, it was just being looked at by a human manager. Before being proposed to break up Wei Xiao, Hart actually do not blame Chen Shui, because the other side of the family environment is really not good. Chen Shui lost her father at a young age, and a half-sister, or her mother single-handedly will be two sisters brought up. Chen Shui's childhood and youth have been very bitter. After Wei Xiao, she didn't have a good day. Moreover, Chen Shui's sister has always disapproved of Chen Shui and Wei Xiao being together. The reason for this disapproval is naturally Wei Xiao's family environment. Wei Xiao's hometown is in a fourth-tier city in Huizhou province, and he doesn't have a house or a car. If Chen Shui followed him, in the future, if she couldn't settle down in Mordor, she would have to go back to a fourth-tier city. How could Chen Shui's sister agree? That's why Chen Shui broke up with Wei Xiao so quickly after she went to the company and was seen by the manager. But, even though Chen Shui had a million reasons, Wei Xiao, however, only had one sentence. You want to go, then go. The road towards the sky, each go one side, you have your Yangguan Road, I have my one-tree bridge. Who can't get by without whom? But since you've gone, don't look back. If you turn back, Wei Xiao will not look at each other more than once. When the previous original owner learned of the breakup, he was still very painful. That was the real reason why he had a car accident under the loss of soul. But now, Wei Xiao came to this world. The love-hate relationship between the original owner and Chen Shui had nothing to do with him, and he didn't want to care, but if it really happened, he will not be the same as the original, a pain and grief. Wei Xiao in this life, only seek a dashing pain. After the noodle soup is resolved, Wei Xiao is not in a hurry to settle the bill, ready to go home. The other party was coming to pick up something, he wouldn't stop. But this, inevitably, was the last time the other party would return to his home. Even if, this home was only temporary. Even if, this home is only rented. Just as his mind was full of thoughts about how to completely clear the relationship with Chen Shui, Wei Xiao's cell phone rang once again. This time, looking at the caller ID, Wei Xiao's heart skipped a beat. This woman, how come she's still not dead? If you don't get me killed, you're not willing to do it, right? Chapter 17, The Role of Centurion Beauty. Hey! Hello! Is this Mr. Wei Xiao? Hearing the female voice on the other end of the phone, Wei Xiao's expression froze. He originally thought that it was Xiao Wei because the caller ID was Xiao Wei's number. But who knew that it was Zhang Hanying calling? Good guy, you couldn't kill me with your car, now you want to use money to smash me to death? Thinking of this, Wei Xiao's voice went several degrees colder. Something wrong? Wei Xiao's indifference meant something else to Zhang Hanying. She thought that Wei Xiao was still angry about the fact that she bumped into him. That, I heard all about it from Xiao Wei. Zhang Hanying took a deep breath and explained. She said that your side is unwilling to accept the compensation, but I think that you should still consider it. After all, drugs that fight cancer are sold in China at very high prices. As you know, with your actual situation, if you don't take the drugs, it's very likely. Likely what? Wei Xiao suddenly interrupted with a voice. Possibly. Live not long. Zhang Hanying's voice was low and low, while carrying a deep sense of shame. But to Wei Xiao's ears, it came out even more angry. If you don't give me money, I'll make sure to live a good life. No need. Wei Xiao called for a car, his mouth not forgetting to say. You don't have to worry about my matters. I won't talk nonsense about your affairs either. As for the money matter, you should also stop mentioning it. $1.5 million really won't cure me. Wei Xiao said it lightly, and the cab driver listened in awe. Good guy, $1.5 million out of the blue? What kind of disease is this? Wei Xiao's words also made Zhang Hanying's expression stagnate. Yes, I heard that the latest anti-cancer drugs developed over in the United States, together with surgery, although it can effectively slow down the spread of cancer. But that surgery, I heard, can be $3 million to start. And still only a certain effect, cannot cure the kind. Their own $1.5 million, that really is not quite enough. Thinking of this, Zhang Hanying immediately made up his mind. Let's put it this way, Mr. Wei. I think it might not be clear over the phone, can we meet? When Wei Xiao heard this, he felt a pang of doubt in his heart. Wasn't what he said clear enough? That, I have some things going on right now and need to go back home. It might not be too convenient. Wei Xiao thought that her hint was obvious enough. But the next second, Zhang Hanying returned. That's fine, you send me your address, I'll be there in a while. Jiang Hanying felt that he had to give Wei Xiao the most recent me healing technology. Never let the other party, so easily, give up hope of living. Wei Xiao listened to the other party's words, although he always felt a little strange. However, this time he did not refuse. Wei Xiao felt that the phone call might not be able to dispel this crazy woman's terrible thoughts anymore. It had to be face to face, practically solving the root of this problem before he could do so. Alright then, I'll send it to you later. Wei Xiao also didn't talk nonsense, directly hung up the phone and sent the address to the other party. The driver on the side had long been bursting with curiosity, and at this moment, seeing Wei Xiao finish the call, he immediately couldn't help but ask. Little brother, sick? Sick. What disease? 1.5 million can't be cured. Cancer, advanced stage. The driver's face changed drastically after hearing this. If it wasn't for the fact that cancer wasn't airborne, he would have just let Wei Xiao off the bus. In this world, cancer is a disease that is bound to die, there is no cure. Looking at the real plague god next to himself, and the other party's bland gaze, the driver's heart rolled with bitterness. No, after finishing this order, I must go to a car wash. A big and special kind of wash. However, just as the driver's heart gave birth to such thoughts, he who saw Wei Xiao's sight face was instantly stunned. But this little guy, he's so handsome. It's a pity that such a handsome young man has gotten cancer. The driver's heart burst with emotion, but he could not help but feel some sympathy. Wei Xiao, whose charisma had already reached 4 points, was unaware that his charisma value had begun to gradually play a role. When Wei Xiao returned home, it was just after 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Following that, he received 2 messages in a row. Chen Shui, arriving in 10 minutes. Jiang Hanying, arriving in 20 minutes. Looking at these 2 messages, Wei Xiao was happy in his heart. These 2 people are quite tacit understanding. After looking at his home, which was still clean and tidy, Wei Xiao simply cleaned up the table and leaned on the sofa. Lighting a cigarette for himself, Wei Xiao quietly waited for the 2 women who were about to come to the door. Not long after, Chen Shui arrived first. Why are you smoking again? Chen Shui smelled the smell of smoke as soon as she entered the door and couldn't help but frown. This is not something you should be in charge of, right? Wei Xiao said in a nonchalant manner, continuing to smoke his own cigarette without even looking at the other party. And Chen Shui froze when she saw Wei Xiao's attitude. One should know that a few days ago, when she and Wei Xiao proposed to break up, Wei Xiao still looked like she refused to agree. But today, Wei Xiao had suddenly become so cold. This made Chen Shui feel very uncomfortable. You never used to talk to me like this. Chen Shui felt a little hard in her heart, the time she spent with Wei Xiao, although it was a little bit poorer and more bitter. But Wei Xiao was genuinely good to her. Never said half a heavy word to her. But now that they broke up, Wei Xiao was like a different person. How should I speak? Wei Xiao raised her head this time and looked at Chen Shui. After a pause, Wei Xiao suddenly laughed. For someone else's girlfriend, it wouldn't be good if I'm too enthusiastic, right? What do you mean? Chen Shui had a moment of weakness, but followed it with anger. Although the manager was still pursuing her, but at this moment, she hadn't agreed yet. Even if Chen Shui herself knew that she would definitely accept the manager's pursuit. But things hadn't happened yet, she couldn't accept Wei Xiao talking about herself like that. Oh? The smile on Wei Xiao's face did not diminish as she leaned back on the sofa. Could it be that you won't fall in love with that what's-his-name manager of yours? Then Dao you can still reject people? Alright, after all, you've only just broken up, it wouldn't look good for your reputation to find your next person so soon, would it? Faced with Wei Xiao's heartbreaking words, Chen Shui was shocked and angry for some reason. Today's Wei Xiao was different from all the previous days. This made Chen Shui terrified, uneasy, and at a loss. That man who had always been manipulated by her in love, today was suddenly like a kite with a broken string, flying further and further away. And she, but cannot do anything. Chen Shui didn't like this feeling, especially because it would give her a strong sense of betrayal. She did not betray. It was just that the circumstances of the 2 of them did not allow them to be in everything, they were both defeated by reality. Please treat me with respect. Chen Shui's complexion also grew cold. There's no need for you to say these things when I take my things and leave. Break up is break up, don't act like a spiteful woman. That way everyone doesn't look good. Wei Xiao inhaled, and the smoke ring turned into a cloud of white mist that rose higher and higher. I'm just telling the truth. Once you've taken the stuff, hurry up and leave. After saying that, Wei Xiao never raised his head again to look at Chen Shui. Chapter 18 Playing Dumb? Looking at Wei Xiao's casual and unfamiliar attitude, Chen Shui was a little lost in thought for a moment. She had also loved this man in front of her. Loved very much. However, she was unable to go to the end with the other party. Just at the moment Chen Shui wanted to say something, she suddenly froze. Perhaps because of the light in the room, she suddenly realized that today's Wei Xiao seemed to look better than before. Seeing this, Chen Shui took 2 careful looks at Wei Xiao's appearance. And this glance also confirmed her thoughts more and more. Why didn't I realize before, he turned out to be so handsome? Wei Xiao, actually. Knock knock knock. Chen Shui's murmured words had not yet fallen. The front door of Wei Xiao's house suddenly rang. Chen Shui slightly stalled and saw Wei Xiao slowly get up. Sorry, I have other guests today. Guests? Chen Shui instantly became a little wary. You don't have many friends in Magic City, where did you get guests? Wei Xiao didn't even turn her head back at this and just calmly said. I don't think I'm obligated to have to explain anything to you, right? Miss Chen Shui? Chen Shui took a deep breath, but she didn't say anything. Looking at Wei Xiao, who was even more handsome than before, Chen Shui only felt a mixture of flavors in her heart, as if a spice plate had been overturned. Hello, Mr. Wei. Zhang Hanying was still dressed as he had been in the past, wearing large sunglasses, a duck-tongued hat, and a mask. Come in. Wei Xiao led the other party through the door, and Zhang Hanying immediately saw Chen Shui standing there. You have a guest? Who is she? The 2 women spoke and fell silent at the same time, looking at each other. Only one had a puzzled face and the other had an angry face. Wei Xiao, who is she? Did you have a woman outside a long time ago? Chen Shui was agitated. It was because she originally thought that she was the one who had wronged Wei Xiao, but she didn't realize that it was Wei Xiao who had wronged her. This made her instantly find the moral high ground and immediately started her attack on Wei Xiao. Good, so you already had an underling. Making me out to be worthless, what about you? A thief shouting to catch a thief, right? Looking at the hysterical Chen Shui, the light in Wei Xiao's eyes grew colder and colder. He could accept Chen Shui coming back to get her things, and he could also accept Chen Shui mentioning breaking up with him after she found a rich man. But this kind of dirty water-throwing behavior, Wei Xiao couldn't accept it. Zhang Hanying was confused and was about to explain, but Wei Xiao stopped him. Wei Xiao paced in front of Chen Shui and slowly lit a cigarette. Then, he seemed to recall something and spoke slowly. During my sophomore year, someone told you that I was having an affair with a schoolmate. You found me that night and deleted all the female friends in my cell phone cleanly, leaving behind my family's. You said that I love you, so I shouldn't have any other friends of the opposite sex. Okay, this matter is over, and I didn't say anything. Wei Xiao's words made Chen Shui's body tremble. She looked at Wei Xiao dumbfounded, but she heard Wei Xiao add. During my junior year, I stayed in Magic City for the summer vacation, preparing to work to earn some money. Because you said that your research group was strapped for cash. That day, it should have been in August it seems, I finished my work and returned to the dining hall dormitory to take a shower. When I came out, you happened to come looking for me. As soon as I entered, you didn't ask me if I worked hard or how I was doing. Instead, when you saw that I had just gotten out of the shower, you went crazy and turned the dorm room upside down. You tried to find other women's hair, clothes, but didn't. I didn't bother with you either. What's in the past, is in the past. Speaking here, Wei Xiao's cigarette in his hand was already half burned. These were all real events that had happened between the former Wei Xiao and Chen Shui. And after finishing these, Wei Xiao's eyes suddenly sharpened. I won't bother with you, that's because you were my girlfriend at that time. I don't bother with you, that's because I know where my own bottom line is. But now, what gives you the right to slander my relationship with someone when you don't have any relationship with me? You. By virtue of. W.H. What? Wei Xiao's tone grew cold, and by the time it reached the back, it was even word for word. Chen Shui was rendered speechless by Wei Xiao's expression, as well as these words. However, she still had her eyes on fire and was unwilling to admit it. You naturally have your explanation. I'm leaving after I've gotten my things. In this lifetime, you and I, it's best if we don't see each other again. Who knows? When Wei Xiao heard this, she snorted and laughed. That's really thankful. Chen Shui's face flushed red, and she only felt a surge of qi and blood, and immediately stopped talking and packed up the few things she had left. On the side, Jiang Haining also roughly understood the situation in front of her, and was filled with embarrassment for a while. Fortunately, her secrecy was good enough that Wei Xiao couldn't see her expression at Alan in near stagnant atmosphere. Chen Shui quickly finished packing up her things. On her way out, she likewise did not look at Wei Xiao again. Instead, she left behind a sentence. Next week when Wang Lu gets married, if you're sensible, don't come. Wei Xiao ignored Chen Shui and just watched her close the door. Wang Lu, his and Chen Shui's mutual best friend, belonged to the category of iron buddies. When Wang Lu got married, originally Wei Xiao was definitely going to bring Chen Shui along. But now, the two had broken up. So if at that time, the two met at the banquet, it was inevitable that a burst of embarrassment was inevitable. This is why Chen Shui's reminder. However, in Wei Xiao's opinion, he is not wrong. Why his own brother married, they do not go. If the meeting is awkward, it should also be the embarrassment of the mistake, and what has he got to do with it? On the other hand, Jiang Haining saw that Chen Shui had finally left, and also breathed a big sigh of relief. She was really afraid of any conflict. In case her identity was recognized by the other party, then the trouble would be even bigger. I'll let you see the joke. Wei Xiao sat back on the sofa and casually said. It's fine, it's me who suddenly came to look for you and was abrupt. Jiang Haining patted his chest and laughed. Sit down, the place at home is small, just be casual. Thanks. Wei Xiao poured a glass of water for the man and asked in passing. What the hell are you thinking? Wei Xiao was really unable to fathom this woman's mind. A mind to send money to himself, in the end, is a good meaning. The fact that the system hasn't shown the completion of the task so far also shows that this woman's thieving heart is not dead. If it is a normal person, surely just smile and accept, but Wei Xiao cannot. That will die. Today, this crazy woman must be conquered. With this thought in his heart, Wei Xiao also looked at the other party. Jiang Haining, who was preparing to respond to Wei Xiao, also looked at him at this time. For a while, the four eyes locked. Wei Xiao didn't feel much. It was because Jiang Haining had covered his face tightly. But Jiang Haining's feeling was big. How did it feel? As if he was handsome again. The moment Jiang Haining looked at Wei Xiao, she was a little lost in thought. Even though she had been in the entertainment industry for many years, it was really rare for a boy with a plain face to look this handsome. Just based on this looks alone, if he went to the entertainment industry for some development, his achievement would not be low. But when I saw the other party yesterday, why didn't I realize it? Jiang Haining, who was having a wild thought in his mind, didn't notice that Wei Xiao's eyes were gradually changing. Looking at the silent Jiang Haining, Wei Xiao couldn't help but curse in her heart. Why did this crazy woman start playing dumb again? Chapter 19. One small step, one big step. Miss Jiang. Miss Jiang? Wei Xiao called out several times in succession before pulling Jiang Haining's thoughts back to reality. Oh. That. Jiang Haining's brain buzzed and reacted violently. What the hell was wrong with himself? Mentally spitting at himself twice, Jiang Haining hastily straightened up. I wanted to come and have a chat with you, something about your cancer condition. Isn't it about chatting about the compensation? Wei Xiao said in disbelief. There's that too, but it's mainly about your illness. Jiang Haining explained. Actually, you don't need to be so pessimistic at all. Although the cancer conundrum has not been conquered so far, the medical institutions of various countries around the globe have been actively researching it. I've heard that the right side has already developed a drug that can be used in conjunction with surgery to effectively curb the spread of cancer. Even Jiang Haining herself didn't realize that without realizing it, she had grown to care more and more about this strange man in front of her. This also made Jiang Haining, from the bottom of her heart, want to cure Wei Xiao's disease. But Wei Xiao was surprised when she heard this. Didn't this world not have much to do about cancer? Thinking of this, Wei Xiao pretended to be contemplative. Seeing this, Jiang Haining didn't say much and waited for Wei Xiao's reply. And in reality, Wei Xiao had actually opened his system customer service at this moment. System, is there really a way to contain cancer in this world? Ding. The me drug that Jiang Haining said was just an inhibitory type of drug, it doesn't cure cancer. Other than effectively reducing the pain of the sick person, as well as stopping the accelerated deterioration of the cancer cells, it doesn't serve as an effective treatment or eradication. Oh. Hearing this, Wei Xiao slowly let out a breath. If there were really medicines and surgeries that could cure cancer, Wei Xiao was really quite panicked. If he really wasn't sick anymore, God knows if the system was still around. God knows what would happen at that time. Miss Jiang. After learning that Zhang Heining's program was completely useless, Wei Xiao immediately said with a deep expression. Perhaps in your opinion, a person, being able to live is the most important thing. But everyone has everyone's way of living. I feel that even if I only have 3 months to live, then I should still live in my own way. Instead of going against the grain and thinking about how to renew your life, what's the difference between living and dying that way? Wei Xiao said words that even he didn't believe without a blush, and said them with incomparable seriousness. But this made Zhang Haining, who was also listening incomparably seriously on the opposite side, once again appear in a state of disorientation. In this world, there really is such an open-minded person. This idea just popped up. It deeply occupied Zhang Heining's brain thoughts. How can not be waved away? But, clearly there is a way out. Zhang Haining wanted to persuade again, but was interrupted by Wei Xiao. I know that the reason why you think and act this way, Ms. Jiang, is out of self-blame. But actually, I don't hold a grudge against you anymore. Even though you broke my leg and nearly killed me on the spot. But one has to move on, and since I survived, everything turned out for the best. Moreover, destiny deserves this calamity, then there's no way to hide from it. Wei Xiao's mouth spoke with great righteousness, but in his heart, he was cursing. If he could, he really wanted to ruthlessly slaughter Zhang Haining. After all, the one who was hit was himself, and he was almost killed. How could he not be angry? But the problem was, the system simply wouldn't let him accept gifts and compensation from the outside world. The more he thought about it, the more angry he became. And Zhang Haining, who had heard Wei Xiao's words, was instantly as if she had listened to one. She realized. The Wei Xiao in front of her was different from those vulgar multitudes. He looked at life so lightly, and his insight into life was so profound. A sentence of destiny, said all the world of human beings. At this moment, Wei Xiao was still unclear about Zhang Heining's realization. But looking at Zhang Heining's gradually glowing eyes, he felt he had to say something else. Lest this crazy woman think of something crooked again. With his brain working frantically for a while, Wei Xiao violently came up with an idea. Ms. Zhang, since you have this money, what wouldn't it be good to do? The world doesn't really have any good solutions for cancer. Instead of wasting this money on me, why don't you go and help those who really need it? For example, those children in the mountains, they need this money more than I do. They are the flowers of the motherland, the future of the motherland. They are the ones who need to be noticed and helped more than I do. When the youth is strong, the country is strong. As a Chinese citizen, I hope you can understand this. Wei Xiao spoke with true feelings, as these words came from his heart. Anyway, Zhang Haining wanted to spend money not, so why don't you go and help those children? It's still considered doing something decent. It is also considered to help themselves to accumulate some merit. It's better than wreaking havoc on yourself. Wei Xiao's words, but also finally as impressed Zhang Haining. Looking at the man in front of her, Zhang Haining's heart was already in turmoil. At the same time, the piece of admiration in her heart for Wei Xiao had also risen to a higher level once again. In the face of life and death, Wei Xiao sitting in front of her was completely fearless. Not only that, this man never thought about himself. His open-mindedness was such that he had long since forgiven himself for the fault of almost killing the other party. And in front of only 3 months of life, Wei Xiao's heart is still thinking about those neglected, lovely poor children. All of this made Zhang Haining deeply impressed from the bottom of his heart. I understand, Mr. Wei. Zhang Haining slowly got up, then bowed deeply with his body at 90 degrees. I've been taught. It was also at this moment that Wei Xiao's system beep finally sounded. But Wei Xiao had absolutely no time to check it at this moment because he had to make sure that the situation in front of him was completely settled. Otherwise, he would have a hard time sleeping when he thought about this crazy woman. In the face of Zhang Hanying's bowing behavior, Wei Xiao hurriedly stepped forward to help the other party up, and once again said with great righteousness, if you really want to help me, then, donate that compensation to the children in the mountains. Zhang Haining didn't try to persuade more this time. In her opinion, if she persuaded any further, it wouldn't be kindness. Rather, it was an insult. In the face of such a person of high moral character, how could one use those worldly thoughts to speculate about the other party? I'll go back later and talk to my agent about this. When I have news from my side, I hope that Mr. Wei will let me treat you to a meal at that time, to show how guilty I feel inside. Finally, thank you for the lesson you taught me today. Jiang Hanying vaguely felt that she had grown. At this moment, she felt that all of her life would take some subtle turns because of this man in front of her. Of course, it was impossible for Wei Xiao to know about these mental activities of Jiang Hanying. However, Wei Xiao was equally happy in his heart at this moment, because he had finally taken care of a terrorist. Although he had only squared away a crazy woman this time, accomplishing an urgent mission and simply taking a small step forward. But this success was a big step of epic significance for the goal he had set to live a long life. Chapter 20 Optional Mission. Slow down. With a hint of relief, Wei Xiao sent Jiang Hanying out the door. That Mr. Wei. Jiang Hanying, who was standing outside the gate, was extremely hesitant and finally made up his mind. Can I add you a FMS? Hearing this, vigilance immediately rose in Wei Xiao's heart. The psycho, what does he want again? That, Mr. Wei, don't think too much. Seeing Wei Xiao's silence, Jiang Hanying immediately explained. I'm just thinking that the matter of donating to poor children is also closely related to you. When the time comes, there might be some more things that can have a contact, and it will be convenient for the two of us to communicate at that time. Jiang Hanying was speaking from the heart. But in her heart, she was still vaguely looking forward to it. Although even she herself didn't know what she was looking forward to. When Wei Xiao heard this, he hesitated for a while. He and Jiang Hanying didn't have any contact information, and the one who contacted him before had always been Xiao Wei's phone number. So from what Jiang Hanying said, there didn't seem to be anything wrong. But Wei Xiao was uneasy. So after thinking about it, Wei Xiao still rejected the other party. Actually, as you know, I don't have long to live. Those children, I won't be able to take care of them for long, so it doesn't really matter if there's me or not. What's important still lies in you, in whether or not you can carry this out after I'm gone. However, I believe in you. You can definitely do a good job with this matter, because you're a kind girl. Wei Xiao said patiently with a righteous face and at the same time with a slight look of expectation. Jiang Hanying froze. She hadn't thought that Wei Xiao was so trusting of herself. Although there was still some loss in her heart, Jiang Hanying still nodded heavily. Don't worry, Mr. Wei. I will definitely carry out your last wishes and implement them. Wei Xiao smiled in relief. Go, be safe on your way back. Aha! Mr. Wei, goodbye. Watching Jiang Hanying slowly turn around, Wei Xiao hurriedly closed the door with one hand. This woman can be considered to be fixed ah. But it's too damn not easy. And in the corridor outside the main door, Jiang Hanying heard the sound of the door closing behind him, but immediately turned around slowly. Thinking about those words from Wei Xiao just now, Jiang Hanying somehow got a little red in the eyes. She had seen many moralistic people who hung on to the righteousness of their family and country. She had seen the ugliest showbiz chaos, watched those people under the banner of all kinds of justice, doing the nastiest things. But today, Jiang Hanying really understood what it meant that there were mountains beyond mountains and people beyond people. Huaxia, there are still highly righteous people like Mr. Wei. Looking at the dilapidated gate, Jiang Hanying stood for a long time. Then, she silently bowed. Mr. Wei, I will definitely complete the task you gave me. Wei Xiao, who was unaware that the killing star was still outside his front door and hadn't left, returned to his room with a pleasant mood. Although this home of his, it only had one bedroom. Lying on his bed, Wei Xiao immediately greeted out the system. Ding! Completed urgent mission, snort, comma. Ding, this mission does not have any rewards for the time being. Two simple and plain system prompts, but they instantly made Wei Xiao's heart settle down a lot. The system had confirmed that he had already completed the mission, so Jiang Hanying should not come back to cause trouble for himself. And in Wei Xiao's opinion, it should also be unlikely that he would have dealings with Jiang Hanying in the future. After all, he was just an ordinary person. The other party, on the other hand, was a goddess who had set fire to all of Asia. The moment this idea came out, Wei Xiao's entire thoughts were much more enlightened. However, Wei Xiao still silently grew a heart. In the future, when facing those rich people, he still had to avoid them more. God knows what's going on in these people's heads. It was a rare moment of leisure, and at this moment, Wei Xiao didn't want to think too much. Although he could have immediately asked the system for a mission, he didn't do so immediately either. He wasn't a donkey in the production team. From yesterday until now, his nerves had been on high alert. At this moment, he could finally clear his mind, and he didn't want to rush into doing the quests so hastily. This afternoon, Wei Xiao mainly watched the news, surfed the internet, and then digested and fused the original master's memories. Although Wei Xiao had acquired those memories of the original when he crossed over. But after all, they came out of nowhere, and he was still a bit unable to adapt for a while. And after an afternoon of fusing, digesting as well as learning to understand, Wei Xiao felt that he was now already completely an aborigine of this world. What had to be said was that there were still many differences between this world and the one Wei Xiao had once recognized. This world doesn't have the world superstar Miles Jackson, the basketball kings Jordan and Kobe, and the unparalleled pride of the soccer world, C. Luo and Lionel Messi. This world does not have the emperor of Qin and Han Wu. There is no Mr. Lu Sun in the era of awakening. There is no Newton's law of the first, second and third. There is no Nobel Prize. Everything in this world is self-contained, completely contrary to the world Wei Xiao is familiar with. But strangely enough, although this world is devoid of many of the big events and characters that Wei Xiao remembers, there will always be other people or events. Yet there were always other people or things that appeared to fill those gaps. Everything seemed so reasonable. So reasonable that Wei Xiao couldn't even find a single loophole. At the same time, the history of China's development in the two worlds, although not exactly the same, also had the same similarities. That is, both Huaxias had their darkest moments, and at the same time, both had risen by leaps and bounds in the last 100 years. Alright, although the details are different, the general direction is still the same. Wei Xiao slowly put down the iPad in his hand and pinched his brow. It was already evening at this moment. Wei Xiao directly opened his consumption treasure and prepared to order a takeaway. But as soon as he saw his account balance, after paying the rent, it was already less than $100. Wei Xiao instantly paused. He recalled the image of himself last night, in the live broadcast room of the female anchor, where he had angrily swiped $500,000. He also remembered this morning, in the BMW 4S store, the image of himself angrily buying a $2 million luxury car. He again and again recalled the image of just this afternoon, when he himself rejected $1.5 million of financial assistance from others. But I'm so fucking poor that I only have less than $100 left. Thinking of this, Wei Xiao instantly fell into silence. System, give a mission. Ding. Host, why do you seem unhappy? I'm not unhappy, I'm just a little sad. Ding. May I ask the host, what can this system do to help you? I want a quest that I can just spend money on. I want this quest to be able to leave me some private money after I've spent it. I only have less than $100 in my pocket. Wei Xiao said with a sad face. And in the next second, the system gave him a response. Ding. The system has understood the host's needs. Ding. The optional task If for Freedom has been released. Do you accept this mission? Yes, no? Looking at this sudden message, Wei Xiao froze. It turns out that it can still be played like this. Chapter 21, Growing Again. Listening to the system's prompt, Wei Xiao's heart began to race. However, Wei Xiao still kept an eye out. System, how come there's no mission information for this mission? Ding. This mission is a randomly appearing optional mission. You need to accept it before you can view the mission information. Hearing this, Wei Xiao had no choice. Yes. With a hint of excitement, a hint of confusion, and a hint of nervousness, Wei Xiao clicked accept. In the next second, the mission information came frantically. Optional mission name, If for Freedom. Mission Introduction 1, the host needs to spend the 100 million funds provided by the system in any way he wants. Task Introduction 2, the host is not allowed to spend this money on saving himself. Task Introduction 3, the host shall not spend this money on any member of the opposite sex other than himself. Task time limit, 3 days. Mission Reward 1, extend lifespan by 7 days and unlock the mall system. Mission Reward 2, can obtain $1 million in free assets. Penalty for failure, serious aggravation of condition. Ding. As this mission is a random optional mission, the host will be required to pay 100 days of life expectancy value after accepting it. Ding! Due to this being the first occurrence of a randomized optional mission, the payment of life expectancy value has been automatically lowered. Ding! The host will be required to pay 10 days of lifespan value after accepting this mission. Ding! Lifespan has been deducted. Looking at this string of system mission introductions, Wei Xiao was dumbfounded. Why do I have to reduce my lifespan when I take on a mission? Ding! The task was formulated based on the host's heart's desire, so it's a charge. Wei Xiao froze for half a day before finally understanding. It turned out that he was able to customize tasks for himself. But the price is taking a life in exchange. And that's not the most frightening thing. The most frightening thing is Wei Xiao only had a total of 100 days to live. If Wei Xiao was a normal person, this would be fine. Even if it was a normal consumption of 100 days of life, it wasn't a big problem. But now, even if it was a discount, even if it was only 10 days of life expectancy less, it was also equivalent to him instantly losing a tenth of his lifespan. Current remaining lifespan, 96 days. Looking at his lifespan, which he had managed to save for over 100 days, instantly returning to the pre-liberation era, Wei Xiao was numb. Wei Xiao lay on the bed and froze for 10 minutes. After a violent and painful thought struggle, Wei Xiao finally endured all of this silently. After all, lives had been spent. And with Wei Xiao's understanding of the system, the other party should not support the online life refund service. Well, by completing the mission, the life can still be earned back. Moreover, it's a 10% discount. I won't be able to afford it in the future. Looking at the mission rewards of extend life by 7 days and can obtain 1 million free assets, Wei Xiao finally slowed down a bit. System, what is that system mall? Ding! The host can find out as long as he completes the mission. Wei Xiao let out a long sigh, knowing that he could only finish this mission first now. But looking at the system mission, the one that showed 100000000, Wei Xiao's heart was on fire again. This time, there were no requirements for the system's mission, so he could spend it however he wanted. It was good news after all. However, when he saw the star rating of the If for Freedom mission, Wei Xiao once again had a trace of doubt. Because it was a full 10 stars. This mission wasn't really too difficult, and it was a free spend, and no times the only two requirements, not being able to bring a woman to spend and not being able to cure a disease, were actually not too difficult. Although the amount of money is large, but compared to the previous entertainment to death and throw money, it should be far from the difficulty of 10 stars. But now, it was a full star rating. Could it be that the star rating doesn't just mean difficulty, it also means something else? Wei Xiao thought left and right and could only come up with a speculation. Perhaps, the star rating also represented specialness in addition to difficulty. Because this time, the mission reward came with a system mall unlock. This thing, just by its name, wasn't simple. Confirming this, Wei Xiao had no more thoughts of researching it. Tapping on the consumption treasure, Wei Xiao directly ordered a takeaway hotpot and spent 500. Do the task before it's too late. After ordering the takeout, Wei Xiao didn't have any other plans today. He was going to wait until tomorrow before going out to spend money. But there wasn't much going on at this moment anyway. Lying at home, Wei Xiao idly clicked on Battlefish Live. He had only opened Emperor last night, so he couldn't help but go back and take a look at this moment. At this time, Mian's live broadcast happened to be already on. Mian, who had just started broadcasting, had changed her attire today. The black low-cut gown perfectly displayed the outline of her chest, and the large swath of snow-white beauty attracted the sights of almost all the male compatriots in the live room. Brothers, coming. With a sweet smile, Mian greeted the water friends in the live broadcast room. Just then, a user with a red color with a border entered the live broadcast room. Welcome Emperor Dawn to Mian's live room. A line of large letters automatically displayed over the live room. When Mian saw the line, his eyes instantly lit up. Last night, before Wei Xiao left, he had given her a huge wave of rewards. Welcome Broken Dawn husband. This time, Mian didn't call Wei Xiao's brother in a regenerative manner. It was because Wei Xiao's actions last night had successfully aroused this woman's interest. Mian was also finally the one to confirm that this level 9 trumpet opening Emperor's Lord was only not an ordinary person. He didn't add Fission and didn't chat, and he angrily swiped $500,000 a night in order to watch her dance. Normal people, he would not be able to do this thing. So yesterday, after going off the air, Mian thought carefully and decided to change his strategy. In short, never let this emperor slip away from her live broadcast. In front of the cell phone screen, Wei Xiao, who saw Mian calling for her husband, revealed a hint of a smile. This girl, her mouth has turned sweet today. Instead of calling her brother, she directly called her husband. Still connecting today? Wei Xiao crackled down a line and sent it out. The water friends also realized that Wei Xiao had come, and for a while, they were up in arms. It's over, Emperor Xiao is going to start spending money. Crap, is this the big brother who angrily swiped $500,000 last night? Xiao Huang, how much are you planning to brush tonight? Mian looked at the many pop-ups, as well as Wei Xiao's questions, and sweetly spoke. Does Xiao Huang's husband want to see me PK with someone? Wei Xiao listened and thought about typing. Don't want to watch, I just want to see you dance. Mian didn't get angry when she saw Wei Xiao's statement and immediately said. Okay, as long as brother Xiao Huang stays with people tonight, they won't even mic. Just with the reward Wei Xiao gave her last night, and the treasure map bombardment on her way out. Mian felt that she had to fulfill Wei Xiao's request today, that was how it was. Wei Xiao also laughed. Let's get started then. After typing, Wei Xiao thought about it. He directly called out the system. System, I'm recharging Battlefish Live. The system funds are considered to be spent, right? Will it have an effect on who I reward with Battlefish money afterward? Ding. The system will settle based on your first consumption. After you recharge Battlefish Live, you are already considered to have spent it. Because the direct beneficiary is judged to be the live streaming platform. All secondary consumption after that, the system is not included in the calculation. This reply was the same as when Wei Xiao completed entertainment to death for the first time. It was almost the same. At that time, it was also the instant he finished recharging. The task was rated as complete. Now that he had once again received an accurate reply, Wei Xiao was also much more at ease. Following that, he directly recharged 1 million Battlefish coins to Battlefish. It wasn't that he didn't want to charge more, but he could only charge 1 million at a time. This time, Wei Xiao charged without any burden. Even more so, he didn't feel angry because he was forced to spend money. The pattern, already within a day, had completely changed. The Wei Xiao at this moment, and the one he was yesterday. Not the same. He, again, has grown. Chapter 22 Brother Nan? Let's start then. Looking at the pop-up, Mioni instantly froze. What's the hurry to watch himself dance so early? With this thought in his heart, Mian began to look for the music. Xiao Huang husband, wait a minute, oh, I'll get ready. But without waiting for Mian to find the music and adjust the camera, the pop-ups were already in chaos. Xiao Huang isn't in a hurry to watch the dancing, he's in a hurry to brush the rockets. The main course is going to be served so early today. If there's an emperor in the family, there's a treasure. Looking at the pop-up screen crowing a burst of messy hair, Mian also smiled helplessly. But this woman, even her helpless smile was so seductive. Of course, the filter still accounted for a large part of the reason, but it could not be denied that Mian's own conditions were really strong. In a short while, Mian had already found the song and adjusted the camera. Husband Xiao Huang, people are ready. Seeing that Wei Xiao hadn't responded in half a day, Mian also hurriedly opened her mouth. She was still afraid that Wei Xiao would sneak away. In reality, Wei Xiao had just gone to charge up his money. Well, come on then. Mian smiled and nodded her head, and just as she gave a she saw a pop-up box pop up. Xiao Bei is looking for me to connect. Mian subconsciously opened her mouth, but as soon as the words left her mouth, she regretted it a bit. Because she had promised Wei Xiao that she wouldn't PK with anyone today. That, Xiao Huang's husband, wait a bit, I'll send her a FMS to explain. Mian was afraid that Wei Xiao didn't understand the situation and followed with another explanation. Xiao Bei and I said last night that we would PK together today, it's not good for this side to reject it directly. You wait for people for a while, oh. Wei Xiao heard this and hurriedly looked at that Xiao Bei's live room. As a result, he realized that the opposite side was also a pretty girl. This time, Wei Xiao changed his mind. PK it then, it's all promised to others. Mian was about to send a message when she saw Wei Xiao's pop-up and hurriedly said. Okay, I'll even then, oh. Thank you Xiao Huang's husband for understanding, Quill. Mian had always had a good relationship with Xiao Bei since she had been an anchor, and at this moment, when she saw that Wei Xiao didn't force her, her heart was also slightly relieved. While talking, Mian connected her mic. Hello? Hello, hello, hello. The screen split in two, and just as soon as Mian on the left finished her greeting, the beautiful woman on the right immediately responded to her. If Mian's beauty was the mature, sensual, sexy kind of beauty, then Xiao Bei's beauty was the elegant, pure, and sweet kind of beauty. Each has its own flavor, and each is good in its own way. Wei Xiao, for a while, looked soothed. From yesterday until now, there was almost no one Wei Xiao met that didn't give him a hard time. Yesterday, the hospital's several directors and Jiang Haining, but also once made him very unpleasant. And today, Chen Shui, as well as the company's gang, is not much better. Wei Xiao is now worried that there is no place to vent his emotions. On the other hand, Mian also chatted with Xiao Bei. I heard that you guys here, Xiao Huang, who opened the Emperor last night, is here today too. When Xiao Bei's gentle voice rang out, it immediately hooked the hearts of countless gentlemen in the live broadcast room. Ah ha ha, that's not true. Mian said with some pride, followed by a pleasing manner. Xiao Huang's husband is really good to me. Last night when he left he also swiped 20 treasure maps for others. Xiao Bei obviously also knew about this matter, and for a moment she also said with envy. That's really good, I haven't had anyone brush treasure maps for me for a while now. Mian's old water friends in the live broadcast room were unhappy when they heard this. Bad, this bad woman is trying to trick Xiao Huang into swiping gifts for her. Bad woman. Live streaming husband snatching now. Mian just smiled slightly at the pop-ups and wasn't angry after all. Her relationship with Xiao Bei was still good, and in the industry of live streaming, it was not easy to have such a friend. Mian also didn't think that Xiao Bei would actually come to her place to rob her boss. But in fact, this moment, Wei Xiao did have a point where she wanted to go to Xiao Bei's live broadcast room and take a look around. It couldn't be helped, who made people good-looking and sweet-mouthed. At this point, Wei Xiao felt that he was a very pure person. And most importantly, Wei Xiao also really didn't think that he would be able to chase after these female anchors by spending some money. You have to know that these women, that is a top of the human essence. If it is so good to chase, not long ago with the boss to go? Still do what live? So Wei Xiao's heart is very open. Watching the live broadcast is a pastime, not those messy ideas. At this moment, the atmosphere of the Mian live room has been up. Xiao Bei saw that his one sentence had attracted such a big reaction, and also hastened to change the subject. What are we playing today? Dancing. My Xiao Huang husband is waiting to see me dance. You have your Xiao Huang husband to play for you, it's not like you're going to lose. Xiao Bei rolled her eyes, but even with this kind of action, it was so charming and heartwarming. It was at the same time that Xiao Bei spoke that the PK began. In just an instant, Xiao Bei's side went up to over 80,000. On Mian's side, it was over 60,000. There were bigwigs in both of their live rooms, and it wasn't just an emperor like Wei Xiao. Those dukes and counts weren't just for show. Seeing that Mian's side was still holding up, Wei Zhao's side wasn't in a hurry to send gifts. The night was long and there was still plenty of time. In a short while, 5 minutes had already passed. The PK between Mian and Xiao Bei also came to more than 400,000. It had to be said that the PK between the two top stream female anchors was still very powerful. Generally speaking, a PK value of more than 300,000 was already very high, but the two had exceeded 400,000 in just half a game. It could be described as intense and abnormal. Right at this moment, a big brother in Xiao Bei's live broadcast room couldn't help himself. Because, in Xiao Bei's live room, there had been people discussing Wei Zhao's deeds. And this unhappy big brother, Brother Nan, happened to be an emperor as well. As the same emperor, why is it that no one mentions me here, but the emperor across the street keeps getting heat? Seeing this, Brother Nan immediately sent out 10 super rockets worth 20,000 RMB. After sending the gift, Nan especially didn't stop and sent a pop-up saying, "Where's the opposite side's emperor? How come he hasn't moved yet?" As soon as the pop-ups in Xiao Bei's live room saw their own emperor come out, they instantly turned the tide. Brother Nan is here, Brother Nan is bullish. Yeah, it's been so long, how come the opposite side's emperor hasn't moved? Couldn't be that he delivered too much yesterday and ran out today? All sorts of yin and yang pop-ups appeared crazily in the live broadcast room for a while. Seeing this, Xiao Bei was also happy in his heart. PK was like this, there would always be conflicts. And with his own big brother supporting him, could he not be happy? And within the Mian live broadcast room, at this time, Wei Xiao didn't know about this yet. But soon he knew. This was because the pop-ups instantly realized the enemy camp and frantically started signaling. Crap, the opposite side's Nan dares to look down on our Xiao Huang. Xiao Huang, fire. This doesn't fuck up the opposite side? Arrogant? You're forcing me, Emperor Xiao, to be powerful, aren't you? I'll go, this Nan is an emperor too. Looking at the reminders between the pop-ups, Wei Xiao froze for a moment. What the hell is this Nan? Chapter 23 1314. To be honest, Wei Xiao really didn't understand the market of these female anchors. So in his thoughts, there shouldn't really be anyone so bored that they would want to fight with themselves on the list. But Wei Xiao was wrong, some rich people think like this. In order to be able to see the female anchors happy and say a few sweet words, they were really willing to spend money. Nan was such a person. As a mine boss with a mine at home, Nan asked himself that he could still afford to fight a PK. Moreover, the fact that the people in the live room were talking about Wei Xiao all night long really upset him to know that back then when Nan first came to battle fish, his peak performance was more than $1 million spent in one night. 500,000? Make it sound like someone who doesn't have it. Over here, Wei Xiao also immediately understood the situation after cutting to Xiao Bei's live room. So it's the big guy on the opposite side who's angry. Isn't this a misunderstanding? Wei Xiao silently laughed in his heart, but he wasn't worried at all that he would lose in spamming gifts. He had nearly $100 million to spend on the list today. Taking a step back, even if the opposite side can really fuck over him. Then the big deal was that he would fight again on the next day. It wasn't like it hurt him to spend his money anyway. After Wei Xiao came to Xiao Bei's live room, Xiao Bei as well as many viewers immediately saw it. This was because Wei Xiao's title as well as name was just too obvious. Wow, brother Xiao Huang has come to my side. Xiao Bei shouted happily, immediately drawing a wolfish howl from the pop ups. It was only Nian, on the other side, who was dumbfounded. She hadn't expected at all that Wei Xiao would abandon her just like this. Men, really are all big pig's hooves. Mian's heart burst with regret and sadness, but on the surface, she was still forcing a smile on her face. However, the water friends in Mian's live broadcast room couldn't help themselves. Crap, how did Xiao Huang go to the opposite side? It's over, it's all over. Alas, it was a wrong payment after all. Mian, who was still barely able to support himself, was a bit tense when he saw these pop-ups. However, the next second a completely unexpected thing happened. Thank you to Emperor Nan for sending 10 battlefish treasure maps in Xiao Bei's live room. Seeing this, Mian couldn't afford to be sad and immediately looked at the PK chart. His side had only just managed to pass 500,000, while the opposite side was already as high as 1.5 million. As soon as he saw the battle instantly plummet, Mian immediately pretended to be disappointed and said, Xiao Huang's husband has gone to the opposite side, brothers. People can be too pitiful. At this moment, Wei Xiao was in Xiao Bei's live broadcast room and saw a different picture. Only to see that in the pop-up screen, 9 out of 10 sentences were words with mockery of him. Emperor Xiao? It's still up to brother Nan. The opposite side's emperors are surrendering to come to our side. It's a pity we won't see Xiao Bei sing in a while. No fun, no fun. Xiao Bei, however, laughed. I'll sing for you guys even if we win. Nan saw that Wei Xiao had come to their side, and after swiping his gift at this moment, he also sent a pop-up sneer. Hello brother, welcome welcome welcome. Looking at brother Nan's pop-ups, Wei Xiao disdainfully skimmed his mouth and rejoined Nin. However, the viewers in Xiao Bei's livestream felt that Wei Xiao was making a move to surrender without a fight. Once he returned to Mian's side, Wei Xiao immediately saw Mian sadly pulling boats. Ugh, Xiao Huang's husband wants to go to other people's Xiao Bei side, what can I do? It's not like I can't let Xiao Huang's husband go, what if he gets angry? But we can't lose the battlefield, we still have to make a dash, brothers. Go go go. Looking at Nian's sad expression, Wei Xiao was smiling faintly. He naturally wouldn't fall for this kind of small tactics. However, as the emperor of Mian's live broadcast, as well as yesterday's top one, he naturally couldn't just watch. Opening the Douyu gift, Wei Xiao thought about it before selecting $500 a rocket. Enter the number and gift it. Mian was inciting the audience in the live room. As soon as she raised her eyes, she saw Wei Xiao once again stepping on the big red border with his feet and coming back to her. Husband Xiao Huang. People thought you had changed your mind. When Mian saw Wei Xiao go and return, her heart burst with ecstasy, and her previous worries were instantly alleviated. But without waiting for Mian to open her mouth more, she saw the most reward she had ever seen in her entire life. Thank you to Emperor Wei Xiao for the 1,314 fireframes he gifted in Mian's livestream. A fireframe was $500, 1,314 rockets, that was 657,000. The entire battle fish platform, this instant boiled over. Crap. I'm convinced, this is the real Emperor. I'd never seen so many rockets in my life. Mian was also stunned at this moment. Since she entered the live broadcast industry for so long, she had seen people sending 13-14 airplanes but had never seen 13-14 rockets. In other people's live streams, they were happy to have one rocket a day. Many small and medium-sized anchors, even more so, would not necessarily receive a single rocket for a week or a month. But today, she had received 1,314 in one go. At this instant, the surprise in Mian's heart was from the bottom of her heart. She hadn't even thought that tonight's Wei Xiao would be even more terrifying than yesterday's strike. As for Mian's live broadcast, at this time on the PK list, the numbers had already skyrocketed to a terrifying number. 7 million versus 5 million. It was already not an order of magnitude. In addition to the Battle Fish Feast at the end of each year, PK annual anchor ranking, Mian had never reached such PK heights on weekdays. Looking at the huge banner in the live room, and the dazzling display of gifts, Mian violently raised his hands and made a huge love heart-shaped "Love you forever, hubby Xiao Huang." Wei Xiao watched as Mian gave a fierce kiss to the camera. How nice it would be if this came in person. But we're a gentleman, a human girl really wants to kiss herself, that can't be agreed. Ha 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 ha. Right at the same time that Mian's side was frantically thanking and making various moves at the same time. Opposite PK's Xiao Bei was a burst of gluttony. Her live broadcast was also not bad for the Emperor. But compared to the Xiao Huang, well, it seems like it's not on the same level. However, this is something that Xiao Bei would never dare or be able to say. Xiao Bei lowered his head with an aggrieved face and beamed. Brother Nan, the opposite side is too fierce. People can't beat him. Xiao Bei's flurry of complaints immediately galvanized Nan's desire to fight. However, at this time, Brother Nan's heart was actually trembling a bit. After all, the master who had rewarded 600,000 or 700,000 at a time was indeed not too ordinary. It was he himself, that was something to think about. To know the weekdays, his month's reward, also in the 300,000 up and down. But this is definitely enough, after all, he just looked at the live broadcast, and not for anything else. But now, looking at his favorite little girl being hit by Wei Xiao's rockets, he couldn't lift his face up. Nan subconsciously looked at his battle fish balance. Chapter 24, Group of Heroes Battling Emperor Xiao. Nan's balance, there was still $400,000. But facing Wei Xiao's 13-14 rocket attack swarm, it was clearly not enough. Wait, I'll recharge. After Nan finished posting this pop-up, he directly went and clicked on the battlefish backstage. And his pop-up screen was immediately captured by Xiao Bei, as well as countless viewers immediately. Wait, Brother Nan went to recharge. Brothers, dukes, earls, and whatever else are on as well. We must take down the opposite side's emperor tonight. Xiao Bei was also aware at this moment that Wei Xiao wasn't an ordinary person anymore. So at this moment, she also instinctively felt that it might be hard to salvage the battle tonight by relying on Nan alone. Brothers, don't mind if you have a point of praise or a love letter, get on it. Whether or not we can take down the opposite side Xiao Huang depends on tonight. During Xiao Bei's frantic mobilization, the heat of Mian's live broadcast room once again came to an unprecedented level, while at the same time rushing to the front page cover of the All Battlefish once again. Looking at the huge heat of his live room, Mian's heart was blossoming with joy. At the same time, it was at this moment that Mian silently decided. Regardless of the outcome tonight, she had to get Wei Xiao's FMS. Only with the contact information could she completely dominate this true emperor in the future and not let the other party go to someone else. Just now, Wei Xiao had gone to Xiao Bei's live broadcast room, which was sort of a wake-up call for Mian to make this decision, but right now, the live room was the key. Husband Xiao Huang, you're too fierce. A man like you must not lack girlfriends in reality. Mian began her daily routine. But Wei Xiao was never a man who followed the routine. Oh, just got dumped. Just a few days ago. Wei Zhao's words stirred up 1,000 waves with a single stone. Is that woman blind? It's okay, hubby, you still have me. Upstairs, you're afraid you're not a human demon. Unimaginable. Xiao Huang has been dumped. That woman is either a psychopath or she's sick in the head. Unlike the pop-ups, Nin was equally shocked but was very happy in his heart. An emperor without an object was a good emperor. Otherwise, if he had a wife, how could he be so generous to come and swipe gifts for her? However, Wei Zhao's situation made her usual words useless. If Wei Xiao had a date, or was single, it would have been convenient for her to steer the conversation to the issue of men and women. But Wei Xiao had just been dumped. It wouldn't be appropriate to talk about it at this time. So Mian could only choose to comfort. Don't be sad, hubby Xiao Huang, you still have me. That girlfriend of yours is visionless. Without her, you can definitely still find a better one. Wei Xiao looked at the screen as Mian spoke and casually typed. No more chatting about ex-girlfriends. What are you going to dance tonight? Or Tarzan of the Apes? When Wei Zhao's words came out, Mian instantly blushed. She really didn't like dancing that dance. But looking at Wei Zhao's red to purple name, Mian still softened. If you want to see it, husband Xiao Huang, I'll dance for you. Mian's heart crossed and he was still about to say something when he saw PK Xiaobei suddenly scream. Nan's money is charged, ready to start. When Mian heard this, she immediately became a bit more alert. Although she was currently substantially ahead, there were also many bigwigs on the opposite side. There was no slacking off at this moment. Xiao Huang husband, when the PK is over, you can watch whatever you want. Wei Xiao, at this moment, also saw the surprised expression on Xiaobei's side. And the PK list of the two had also vaguely changed. From the previous 7 million versus 1.5 million, it had turned into the current 7.2 million versus 2.6 million. It had to be said that Xiaobei's side's firepower was still fierce. It wasn't like this was a major holiday, and to be able to spell it out like this, it could only be described in 2 words. Exaggerated. Normal PKs, which were this fierce. At this time, there wasn't much time left for both sides of the PK, only more than 2 minutes, that is. After Wei Xiao silently recharged 5 million battlefish coins once again, the opposite side's Nan finally began to attack. In Xiaobei's live broadcast room, at this time, there was a situation of unity that was rarely seen on a normal day. A single Earl and Duke had jumped out, and the airplane rockets were almost never interrupted. Under Nan's leadership, many warlords had begun the battle against Wei Xiao. Duke Xiaomu, Xiaobei, wait a minute, I'm going to charge up. Duke Xiaobei's Oba, count me in. Duke Bloodstained, I'm ready, waiting for Emperor Nan to give the order. Duke. Count 77 is not 77, the rockets are ready. Count Bei, cannonballs are being loaded. Earl. The rest of the many viscounts, barons, rangers, and other nobles' pop-ups were even more numerous at this moment. Under Xiaobei's call, as well as Nan's unification, the entire live broadcast room, for a moment, actually appeared a luxurious spectacle that had never been seen before in the period outside of the Battlefish Feast. And this night also became a milestone night in the history of the Battlefish platform. Battlefish platform history, group of British War Xiao Huang. Brother Joe's live broadcast room. Brother Joe is now busy water time and again, and incidentally, and the brothers in the live room blowing pussy. Just then, he saw that the pop-up screen suddenly went haywire. Brother Joe, Min, and Xiaobei are fighting. Brother Joe, Xiao Huang is going to start a fight with Emperor Nan. Brother Joe, that Xiao Huang who dried and sank you, is here again today. As Brother Joe looked on, he saw that last pop-up that made him extremely uncomfortable. What do you mean, dried and sank me? That's someone I can dry sink. But through the reminders of the pop-ups, Brother Joe was aware of the situation at this point. But the pop-ups still didn't stop. And soon, the live broadcast room unified the pop-up slogans. Room check. Room check. Room check. The pop-ups were surprisingly unified, and the entire broadcast room was brushing this phrase. It messed with Brother Joe's head. Anchors were there to serve the viewers, and in situations like this where the viewers wanted to watch, the anchor would generally consider it. Rarely would they refuse, unless there were any special circumstances, such as prohibited, cross-district, or something like that. However, as the same dance zone anchor, Joe was so familiar with Min and Xiaobei that he naturally didn't take it into consideration. Seeing that everyone wanted to watch, Brother Joe didn't choose to refuse. But I really don't want to check. Brother Joe cursed in his heart. The fact that he was sunk by Wei Xiao yesterday was fresh in his mind. The most terrifying thing was that not long after his PK with Min ended, he heard about Wei Xiao's reward of $200,000 on his way out. This was simply off the charts. At the same time, Brother Joe was also a bit thankful that he surrendered yesterday, or else he would have lost even more. Although winning or losing didn't affect his earning, what man would want to be dry sunk by another man? Or a crushing dry sinking? However, when he thought of the 1,314 rounds of rockets that had just swept through the entire station, Brother Joe himself was a little curious. That was several $100,000. This Xiao Huang was really fucking rich. With a large number of water friends, Brother Joe silently clicked on Min's live room, wanting to see how the situation was going. And right at this moment, at the same time, throughout the dance area, most of the anchors' live rooms began to popularize a word: room checking. Many big anchors who had been famous for many years had also been startled by this. Thinking back to the station-wide notification that 1314 had just sent out rockets, and the events of yesterday, the great anchors were also incomparably curious about the identity of that Emperor Xiao. Of course, there were some anchors who weren't clear at this moment about Wei Xiao's appalling actions last night, as well as Emperor Zhao's name, but soon, they knew. Chapter 25, The Long Night is Still Long. Without Wei Xiao's knowledge. In Mian's live broadcast room, in the last 2 minutes of the PK with Xiao Bei, the entire Mian live room was already arriving with more than 70% of the dance zone's big anchors. And at this time, Nan was finally ready to start brushing. Brothers, look at my treasure map, together. Brother Nan waited for 2 seconds after sending out the pop-up screen. Seeing that the entire screen was filled with noble icons speaking, the corners of Nan's mouth lifted slightly. He could fight Wei Xiao solo, but he had long since passed the age of heroism. Although it would be cool to win that way. But Nan didn't feel that he could definitely win if he relied on himself alone. So Nan ended up inciting the many nobles in the broadcast room to start a joint crusade. In this way, even if he wins the siege, but as the biggest card on Xiao Bei's side, as long as he wins the battle, the honor will still be his to take up most of it. With Nan's Warfish treasure map sent, a gift instantly followed, breaking through the sky. Xiao Bei's heart fluttered. The world knew that the Battle Fish Feast was at the end of the year, and at that time, the anchors would receive a lot of gifts for their annual ranking. But the gifts at that time, they were to return the profits. So often, after a Battle Fish Feast, they didn't earn much instead. But today was different. Today was an ordinary and normal PK. All the income would end up in her pocket normally. Seeing her PK value, all the way from over 2 million, instantly breaking through to over 5 million. Xiao Bei's face was even flushed with a slight flush due to her excitement. This also made the many bosses in her live broadcast room instantly even more excited. You 3,000, I 5,000. You 30,000, I 50,000. The bosses were happy to brush, and Xiao Bei was even happier to watch. Not long ago, Xiao Bei's side has come to more than 9 million. And what's even more frightening is that the momentum has no intention of weakening at all. At this moment, Brother Joe, who was coming to watch, saw this scene and was dumbfounded. To be honest, apart from the Battle Fish Feast, he didn't even talk about watching it. He hadn't even heard of this situation. It's not a birthday, it's not the anniversary of a few weeks of live broadcasting. Is there a need to be so desperate? Not only was Brother Joe, but the rest of the many anchors who had quietly come to check out the room were also dumbfounded at this moment. Even the water friends in their live room had forgotten to add to the chaos at Min and Xiao Bei at this moment. Seen PKs, never seen such PKs. Among them, Brother Kazi, the first male anchor of the dance area, also couldn't help but lament. The female anchor is still fierce. This emperor is also really fierce. In Brother Kazi's live broadcast room, there was a cloud of pop-ups from how did such a big brother suddenly appear in Min's live room? Xiao Huang. Never heard of it before. Xiao Bei's side is also really fierce. Nan is besieging it with a bunch of nobles. Top stream female anchor Jojo watched the live broadcast at this moment and also sighed. How come I don't have such a big brother here? Emperor Wu and Emperor Qing, a few female anchors taking turns every day, don't come around much these days. Angry. Jojo's live broadcast room was instantly cheerful. Emperor Wu and Emperor Qing, that's raining on their parade. Don't be angry, Afe, you still have us. The most interesting thing was that Emperor Qing, who had been diving silently, even jumped out at this time. Who said that? My people are not here. Crap, Emperor Qing opened stealth. Ah ha 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 ha, Zheng Huang solid ah. Bad, Emperor Qing didn't want to go, but now he wants to go. Jojo also didn't expect Emperor Qing to open his stealth to watch his live broadcast, and immediately smiled and said, I knew Emperor Qing couldn't let go of people. Love you mwahaha. Brothers, add gas ah, opposite the entire live room of the Big Brother are here. We can't just rely on Xiao Huang alone either. Min was still agitating the other Big Brothers in the live room. But at this moment, no one came forward at all. As a matter of fact, many of the nobles in Min's live room were a little bit dissatisfied because of Wei Xiao's sudden appearance. After all, Wei Xiao's appearance was too sudden and shocking. Whether it was yesterday or today, Wei Xiao's bounty move was so shocking. Humans, on the other hand, were naturally resistant to things that suddenly appeared and were extremely powerful. This was also true in the Min live stream, so apart from Wei Xiao's hit list, the gifts from the others were actually very little. It was even less than a tenth of what it was on Xiao Bei's side. Mian also knew exactly why this was the case, but her momentum was up tonight. How could she be willing to admit defeat? Even if this battle is fought beautifully tonight, Warfish that has long been vacant for more than a year the position of first sister. She, Min, may not be unable to fight for it. Thinking back to that year, how did little Timo become the first sister in Battle Fish? Relying on is not a hard battle. Now that Timo has left the platform, Mian says she doesn't want to. She herself does not believe it. However, after repeated encouragement, looking at the few gifts, Min couldn't help but turn her gaze, once again, to that red name. Xiao Huang. Silently reciting this name in his heart, Mian instantly had the urge to plead with Wei Xiao to brush a little more. However, under the influence of the god she actually did not open her mouth. Even Mian's heart inexplicably gave birth to a marvelous feeling. That is, Wei Xiao hadn't even put out her full strength yet. This feeling came in a strange way, but he didn't know why. Mian just had this feeling. While the major anchors in the outside world were heartbroken and went crazy. At the same time that Xiao Bei was smiling and grateful in every way. At the same time that Mian's heart was filled with infinite fantasies. Wei Xiao was also seeing the reaction of the opposite live room, or Nan. In just a moment of concentration, the gifts in the opposite live room had already surpassed 10 million. Converted to RMB, it was millions of gifts. But what was the use of this? Wei Xiao sighed deeply. I just want to come and support the anchor I'm watching. Why would there be so many people that want to come and spend money compared to myself? What good does this do to you guys? Wei Xiao didn't understand, but he didn't want to either, counting the battlefish coins that Wei Xiao had just recharged, plus what was left over from before. At this time, his account balance had come to over 5.3 million. What kind of concept is this? A Ferrari, you know. A Ferrari, that's the price. But now, Wei Xiao was planning to use a Ferrari to reward a female anchor. Wei Xiao couldn't think of a reason why he couldn't win. Unless someone was like himself, they would die if they didn't spend money. But as a Heaven's Mandate protagonist, Wei Xiao knew that there would never be a second person like that in this world. Otherwise the story wouldn't be able to be written. This time, Wei Xiao didn't have any more plans to test the waters with the other party. He immediately clicked on the Warfish's list of consumer gifts. Selecting 2000 a super rocket, he entered the number 666 click, gift. Well, almost, that's about RMB 1.3 million or so. The moment he finished giving the gift, Wei Xiao silently entered a pop-up. It was also a pop-up that could represent his original intention from before. The long night is long, the time is still long. Chapter 26. Looking forward to the next PK. It was hard to say what the moment Wei Xiao gave out his gift was like. It could only be said that the pop-ups and gift banners all went along with the moment he gave out the gift. It almost reached an unprecedented level. But at this moment, the only thing Wei Xiao saw was Mian's surprise to the point of dumbfounded expression. He was just curious as to what kind of reaction Mian would have after seeing the gift. And the other party's reaction was not at all what Wei Xiao expected. If Mian was all calm, Wei Xiao might have been a bit more interested. But obviously, Mian's reaction was really usual. After 2 seconds of stagnation, the excited Mian was already unable to sit still. She even jumped up from her chair and circled back and forth several times. Wei Xiao was very understandable about this. After all, for any other person, somehow earning $1 million or so after chatting a few times a night would be a state that would be hard to suppress. But compared to Mian, the pop-ups in the live broadcast room were even more frantic. They were frantically praising Wei Xiao, mainly praising him for being rich. Only Xiao Bei's live room was in an uproar. This was because after Wei Xiao's gift was given, the contest between the two sides, once again, changed. 20 million versus 12 million. Translated into RMB, it was 2 million against 1. 2 million. Nan was no longer just shocked when faced with such a situation. More than that, it was difficult to understand, or fear in his heart. As a big brother with a mine in his family, Nan's assets were in the hundreds of millions, but that didn't mean that the amount of money he could use was also in the hundreds of millions. Most of the time, the liquidity on him was only a few $1,000,000. Nan still had more real estate. But even if he was so rich, it was impossible for him to reward a female anchor, who couldn't possibly have any relationship with him, with $2 million in one night. $2 million and find a model, college student, or small actress. Is it not good? And still casually find the kind, people wanna come. I guess more people have to line up. But what about now? The opposite side for a female anchor rewarded 2 million now. Nan instinctively felt that Wei Xiao must be looking at Mian. But without waiting for Nan to confirm if that was the case, the nobles from Xiao Bei's live broadcast had already approached him. Brother Nan, what do you say? Brother Nan, still fighting? Similar pop-ups swept in once more. While Brother Nan looked at the situation, it was a bit difficult to ride the tiger. To fight Wei Xiao on the list was something he had proposed. If he admitted defeat like this now, his Nan Huang's hefty reputation would really be disgraced. In the future, no one mentioned it is okay. Once someone mentioned it, where can he still raise his head? More importantly, as the same emperor, if he concedes today. In the future, wherever Wei Xiao is, he is afraid that he will not have the face to stay. Nan thought for a while, looked at his account balance after recharging. There is still more than 500,000 left, fiercely clenched his teeth. Charged all, why should he admit defeat? Brothers, don't be a wimp. I'll take the lead. At Nan's command, 50 treasure maps were instantly sent out. The battle between the two sides had thus entered the third stage. Dawn husband. Min looked at the computer in front of her with a peach blossom face, as if what was in front of her at the moment was not a computer, but a living Wei Xiao. In my live broadcasting career, it's really so lucky to have met you. What happened tonight, I will never forget it for the rest of my life. Wei Xiao watched Mian's deep confession without any fluctuation in his heart. Even he lit a cigarette for himself. A woman's words, especially a beautiful woman's words, cannot be easily believed. This truth, Wei Xiao understood many years ago. It was also at this time that Nan's third wave of offense arrived. In just an instant, the PK values of both sides were above 20 million. Of course, on Mian's side, it was Wei Xiao alone who was carrying the flag. On the opposite side, it was a large number of nobles fighting under Nan's leadership. However, such a battle was still enough to make a large number of big anchors who were spectating and checking out the room at the moment have their eyes glazed over. Brother Kazi, I regret coming. Jojo, I'm so pathetic. Brother Gio. By this time, there were only less than 30 seconds left in the PK time. Man, however, felt that tonight, win or lose, it was all worth it. As long as Wei Xiao was still around, everything was worth it. Even if she lost, she, Mian, hadn't lost, and her Xiao Huang had likewise not lost. If the bigwigs in her live room could play normally tonight, and Xiao Huang could take the lead, what would the opposite side take to fight her? But Wei Xiao didn't know what Mian was thinking at this moment. So he directly opened the gift system. Then sent himself for Nan's comeback. 168 Battlefish treasure maps. Sent. Thank you Emperor Dawn for sending 168 Battlefish treasure maps during Min's live stream. Thank you Emperor Raggedy Dawn on Min Live. Thank you to Emperor Ruaxiao. Another banner, another station-wide notification, another domination of the list. The situation instantly came to 40 million versus 22 million. Wei Xiao had rewarded over 3.5 million RMB just tonight. He alone is holding up the entire deck of cards in Min's live streaming room. Even the aristocrats of Min Live who were previously dissatisfied with him were silent at this moment, unconvinced. No way. In the face of such strength, it wasn't just the entire mean live streaming room. Even the large number of big anchors who had gathered around were all convinced. Brother Kazi, well, in the future, when Xiao Huang is around, there's no need to link up with Mian. Jojo, when will I have a Xiao Huang too? Jio. But even almost everyone was on the verge of being beaten by Wei Xiao. Even Xiao Bei wanted to surrender. However, one person, on the contrary, was silent. At this moment, Nan was completely unable to sit still. This was because the pop-ups in Xiao Bei's live broadcast room had now flooded with countless onlookers from the road, as well as water users from Mian's side. It's still Xiao Huang's bullish awe. This is it for Emperor Nan? This is finished? How did Emperor Nan bring so many people and not even fuck over the opposite side? They're all emperors, the gap is so big. Looking at that last sentence about the gap being so big, Nan was truly unable to hang on to his face. But looking at the opposite side of Wei Xiao, the daily reward is up to more than 3.5 million. Brother Nan took a deep breath and after weighing it repeatedly, he still conceded. Brother, you bull batch. A sentence of brother, you're a bullseye brought down the final curtain for this big battle. Brother Nan couldn't fight anymore, and the other bosses in Xiao Bei's live room were about to be drained. And these words were soon spread to Min's live room through the almighty water friends. Brother, you're bullish. Brother, you're bullish. Brother, you're bullish. Inside Min's live room, the PK happened to end at this time. The pop-ups on the screen were all filled with the phrase, brother, you're awesome. In response to these, Wei Xiao just smiled. Then, he slowly typed out a pop-up screen. Looking forward to the next PK. Chapter 27, the leaks are too hard to cut nowadays. Nan's mood at this moment was complicated. Especially when he saw this pop-up from Wei Xiao. Nan didn't know if this was that Xiao Huang pretending to be something else, or if it was just a polite remark. But what Nan knew was that Xiao Huang is definitely a top tycoon. And a top tycoon who was willing to spend money. Even Nan felt that the other party was no longer rich. Rather, it's a bit of a problem. His brother Nan Mixed Warfish also has more than 3 years, so hit the list, in addition to the Warfish Feast has seen a few times. That is really not seen again. However, Nan's defeat had been quickly forgotten at this moment. Even Xiao Bei, at this moment, had already decided not to mention the defeat. Instead, he had steered the topic towards this battle of the century this evening. Even though we lost, it wasn't a shameful loss at all. Aside from the Battle Fish Feast, our fighting strength tonight can definitely defeat any of the usual anchors. Xiao Bei relieved the bigwigs in the live broadcast room while turning on the musical accompaniment. To thank everyone for their support, I'll sing a song for everyone. What would everyone like to hear? Xiao Bei forcibly pulled away from the topic, no longer bringing up the PK incident that had just happened. Although it was a bit raw, it quickly covered the matter. Music rang out, and once again, the cheerful live broadcast room was dispatched by Xiao Bei to heat up a new topic. Mian's live broadcast room. As the owner of the live broadcast room, Mian's words hardly stopped coming out of his mouth at this moment. This PK today is simply the pinnacle of my life. In my life, I guess I'll never have a PK like this again. Mian spoke with affection, but this time, she was speaking from the heart. Other than the Battle Fish Feast, she really did feel that it was impossible for her to have such a PK value again. Even if her Xiao Emperor husband was rich, it wasn't possible for him to always give gifts like this. There were some emperors who had only rewarded 3 to 4 million or even less over the course of a few years. But Wei Xiao had rewarded so much in one night. Even the richest of the rich couldn't give away so much every day. This idea of Mian's was indeed correct normally. But Wei Xiao never played his cards according to the normal routine. In Wei Xiao's preconceived notions, live streaming gifts was actually a very good means of consumption. But any entertainment to death tasks, he can come to spend a sum of money, to reduce the pressure of their own spending, then go to Macau, Las Vegas, Kyoto famous Panjiayuan. In this way, they spend money to spend a little more scattered, so that it will not be too striking. Watching the live broadcast of Min saying the words of true love, Wei Xiao just quietly watched. Only after the old half-day did he type. That may or may not be true, I'll come and watch the live broadcast when I have time. But I'm usually busy, I don't come every day. Mian instantly saw Wei Xiao's pop-up and immediately said with a smile. It's okay, it's fine if hubby Xiao Huang comes to see me once in a while. Mian was very happy. She didn't think that a big boss like Wei Xiao would be so idle as to come every day. But as long as he came once in a while, it would be a great joy for her. From the contact situation in the past 2 days, even if Wei Xiao could only come once a month, then all the money she earned in a year could be doubled. That's why Mian was smart enough not to say anything more, but immediately said, Xiao Huang's husband is so busy, surely he should still focus on his own things. Just come and visit when you're bored and miss people. I'm basically there every day. If Xiao Huang's husband wants to see people dance, just say it in advance. Prior to this, Mian was extremely enthusiastic about the emperor's first-class top-tier tycoon even though he was there for cha rice. But none of them had said anything like that. Because Mian knew that she had to have a bottom line in order to make those big brothers more willing to spend money. But for Wei Xiao, she did not dare. Mian was now terrified that Wei Xiao would go to another female anchor. That's why she said such things in order to keep Wei Xiao. For these, Wei Xiao didn't feel anything, mainly he usually saw less, so he wasn't clear. But even if it was clear, Wei Xiao would only feel normal. After all, the emperor that old some, but like him and money have a grudge, should not be many, so isn't it normal for people to be nicer to themselves? After chatting casually with Mian for a while, Mian was ready to go dancing. On the other side, the Noble Battlefish livestream. A large number of top stream anchors, after watching this Battle of the Century live, then silently exited Mian and Xiao Bei's live room. This PK was just too shocking for them. This is like the same group of salesmen into the sales company, everyone is the same start, each person tens of thousands of sales per day. But suddenly one day, a colleague made several million a day. This is simply outrageous. After Brother Kazi returned to his live room, he looked at the pop-up screens that were still swarming with emotions and couldn't help but sigh. Mean live room, this time has really bumped into a top big brother. In the future, I'm afraid that if I PK with her, it will be hard to win. The pop-ups were up in arms, stating that there were enough nobles on Brother Kazi's side, so it wasn't necessarily impossible to beat her. Some people even started egging Brother Kazi on right now, to have a fight with Mean. To be honest, this moment was heartwarming for Brother Kazi. Brother Kazi really wanted to fight with Mian, just as the wind was blowing at this moment. But he also understood that the leak could not be cut too hard. This kind of thing has to be done slowly, and you can't do anything that would cause you to fish with all your might. Keiko and Jojo just had a PK yesterday, and the big brothers are all recovering. It wouldn't be appropriate to provoke Mean at this moment. Brothers, it's not that I don't want to PK. Look at you guys, just now Xiao Huang alone dry sunk a division of nobles from the opposite side. What about Mean's side? Several other big brothers haven't moved tonight. Take a break for 2 days, and I'll go PK with Mean then. Brother Kazi's live room, as one of the most knowledgeable live rooms in all of Battlefish, the quality of the water users was also really high. The pop-ups were very reasonable and immediately expressed their understanding. Let Buster rest for 2 days and then go meet that Xiao Huang. When the time comes, make sure to thwart the opposite side's sharpness. The cards of the first brother of the dance district must be shown then. In Jojo's live broadcast room. Jojo was still giving Emperor Qing a good word at this moment. Aya, Emperor Qing's husband. If it wasn't for you being invisible again and going to brush gifts for other female anchors. I can say that. At this moment, Emperor Qing also lost his temper. Alas, this might be women. Jojo smiled and made a cute face, saying sweetly. Emperor Qing, do you think that if I were to PK with Mean, you would let them lose? Facing Jojo's question, Emperor Qing hesitated for a long time before replying. If the opposite side are all as fierce as they are tonight, then they might not be able to do it. Jojo immediately said with glowing eyes. It's not like you're alone, Emperor Qing's husband, there's still Emperor Wu and a few of them. Seeing this, Emperor Qing said. That still has the power to fight, but we have to rest a few days in advance. Jojo's face was bitter. Then it's not these few days, and you can't PK again. The pop-ups in Jojo's livestream were also finally unable to hold back at this moment. Alas, we can't cut leaks again these days. Damn it, the leaks are too hard to cut now. Martial Emperor, someone is coming to cheat my wife's book again. Chapter 28, I'm usually too busy spending money. After a hot dance, a slight blush rose on Mean's body. Especially her little black dress, with that low open chest bit, was an eye-catching burst. Wei Xiao had to light himself a cigarette again to suppress the flood of energy in his body. Brother Xiao Huan, do you still look satisfied? Nian asked happily. She could swear that she had never danced so vigorously and seriously. Nian's seriousness was also seen by Wei Xiao through and through. Well, very satisfied. I lit a cigarette for myself just watching it. What Wei Xiao didn't expect was that his casual pop-up was immediately misinterpreted by the pop-ups. Smoke afterward. A large number of question marks covered the sky, and Wei Xiao shook his head helplessly. The pop-up water friend's ability to make things happen was still top-notch. Nin was wiping his sweat with a wet towel, and he smiled heartily when he saw this. Brother Xiao Huang, what are you usually busy with? Nian digressed, but asked a question that she herself was very curious about. Xiao Huang was so rich, he should either run a company or a business, right? That was what Mian guessed in her heart, but Wei Xiao's words made Mian, as well as all of the aquanauts here, tense up. I'm usually busy spending money. Mian. 10,000 water friends. Then, Brother Xiao Huang, what do you spend your money on? Is it investment? Mian forced herself to hold back her discomfort and asked instead. Wei Xiao's answer, however, was still so plain and simple. For now, it's to chart you. After that, it might be to get a company. And then, it might be a trip to Las Vegas or Macau, but of course that's after a while. Nioni sucked in a breath of cold air. Other than the first sentence, the next two sentences were trenchantly a bit too much in Nian's opinion. Given Wei Xiao's handful of rewards in the past 2 days, I'm afraid this matter of registering a company was no joke. As for the latter, going to Las Vegas and Macau. Going to these two places, what else can you do besides gambling? This is what rich people do. After opening a company, they go to gamble? The pop-ups were also surprised by Wei Xiao's words in droves. Xiao Huang, you just exposed your whereabouts like this, aren't you afraid of being discovered by your business rivals? Emperor Xiao is going to gamble. Blind guessing the winnings and losses in one night will be tens of millions of dollars. Don't you have to take care of the company after opening it, Xiao Huang? He Wang, I want to apply for a job in your company. Facing the many pop-ups, as well as Min's dumbfounded gaze, Wei Xiao smiled faintly. That's why I said, I'm very busy. Mian was also really convinced at this moment that Wei Xiao was busy. Busy opening companies, busy gambling. Sure enough, Emperor Zhao's job is to spend money. Wei Xiao looked at the time at this moment and saw that it was getting late, so he took a look at the progress of his takeout and passing well, it's about 5 more minutes away. Seeing this, Wei Xiao, who had finished spending money, was refreshed. Let's stop here today, I haven't eaten yet. Nian immediately said as she took a look. Xiao Huang's husband, you are busy with you, quickly go eat. But as soon as the words were said, a scene somehow surfaced in Nian's mind. In the luxurious sea view villa. Her Xiao Huang husband was holding a red wine glass in his hand and was slowly typing out a line. Then, the other party put away his cell phone, and his bored gaze swept to the countless beautiful women around him. Finally, under the gaze of the many guests, Xiao Huang strolled into a group of powerful and wealthy businessmen, and ended up in a scene where he was talking to a large number of top tycoons. The image was so beautiful that Min only slightly fantasized about it, and a look of longing appeared in his eyes. This look, however, quickly disappeared from Min's eyes. She knew that she, who had only graduated from secondary school, would find it difficult to enter such a world. She, after all, had to rely on herself. Min took a deep breath and slowly said the sentence she had been waiting for all night. Xiao Huang's husband, I'll send you a private message later, remember to read it. After saying that, Mian saw the last pop-up sent by Wei Xiao before she left. Good. Arriving at the same time as this pop-up was another 20 battlefish treasure maps. Here we go again, here we go again. Is this the card face of Emperor Xiao? 20 more treasure maps on the way out. Xiao Huang, you still haven't told us the name of the company you're planning to open. Wei Xiao didn't look at these amusing pop-ups anymore, and instead headed to his private information page. Interestingly enough, his personal private message page had a few hundred at this moment. A lot of them were from bored water users coming over to mess around. There were also many who came to ask him if he was short of drivers and if the company was short of people. There were also people who came to show their specialties to Wei Xiao, hoping to be appreciated by Wei Xiao. In short, there was everything. After looking through a bunch of private messages, Wei Xiao quickly found a private message from Min to himself. This is my FMS, Emperor Zhao's husband, remember to add it. Quill. Wei Xiao smiled and added the other party's friend in passing almost after only 2 seconds, Nins and agreed. Husband Xiao Huang. I'll go live first, I'll find you later when I'm off the air. Wei Xiao returned an OK gesture emoji before turning off his cell phone's feature. Just then, the door was knocked. With a hint of excitement, Wei Xiao hurriedly retrieved tonight's dinner. This was his $500 dinner, which he wouldn't have been able to afford in the past. Coming to the living room, Wei Xiao only felt that life was infinitely better after a big meal. Although he didn't have much time left, he had also experienced a life that he had never had before. After eliminating his dinner, Wei Xiao took the time to take a shower. Lying on his bed, Wei Xiao swiped up Weibo. He wanted to learn more about the world, especially the various big and small situations in China. In order to prepare for the unforeseen need of spending money on choices in the future, but to his surprise, as soon as he opened Weibo, Wei Xiao saw a familiar face. The famous entertainer, Zhang Haning, officially formed the Han Xiao Charity Foundation Association this evening. This news almost dominated the top 5 seats of the microblogging hot searches. From why Zhang Haning formed the fund association, to the content of the association and so on, almost everything. A capital injection of $5 million. Wei Xiao couldn't help but freeze when he looked at the amount. He remembered that he didn't let Zhang Haning spend this much. What the hell is this cold Xiao? Wei Xiao flipped through the news and immediately saw an original statement spoken by Zhang Haning. Cold dawn, taken from the meaning of cold winter breaking through. I hope that this charitable foundation association can practically do this. For every child in the mountains, it can bring the light of dawn in the cold winter, like the breaking of dawn. I also solemnly call on everyone to pay more attention to those children in the mountains. Because they are the flowers of the motherland, the future of the motherland. If the youth is strong, then the country is strong. As a Chinese citizen, I hope that all Chinese people can effectively understand this truth. Chapter 29, A Strong Teenager Makes a Strong Country. Looking at Zhang Haning's words below, the words of crazy praise from those self-publishers. Wei Xiao was completely dumbfounded for a moment. Wasn't he the one who told Zhang Haning this? Damn it, net piracy. I'm going to report it, I'm going to complain. Wei Xiao spat in his heart for a while, but after looking at the icon for complaint reporting, he finally held back. Forget it, let her get it. It's finally doing something for the country, isn't it? Alas, there really are you everywhere. Wei Xiao sighed and looked at the news for a while, speechless. In order not to add to his heart, Wei Xiao hurriedly turned off Zhang Haning's news and looked for other news. However, to his disappointment, the news on Weibo was either that this Love Bean had flipped, or that Love Bean's romance had been exposed. Then there were all sorts of scandals and lace news. If it was a normal melon eater who came, he might have been happy. Because the melon is big and filling. But for Wei Xiao, it was very unsatisfactory. The big microblogging, hundreds of millions of registered users. But there is no news item that can cost money. Simply disappointing. Closing his cell phone, Wei Xiao closed his eyes early. He was a bit tired today and wanted to go to bed early. He had to continue to be busy spending money tomorrow. Xiaoing. Xiaowei's voice was so clear even from a floor away. So much so that Zhang Haning couldn't help but frown. What's wrong? The news, that news. What news? It's that what's his name Cold Dawn Charity Foundation Association you set up. Now the whole internet has exploded. Everyone is discussing this matter, everyone's attention to this matter is beyond the sky. And your sentence, a strong boy makes a strong nation, it was even shared by countless V's, it's simply all fired up. Zhang Haning was also somewhat unresponsive. The repercussions are so great? Yes. I thought you were going crazy at first, but I didn't expect this to work so well. What crazy? And yeah, I'm sincere about this. Can you not make me sound as if I have a purpose? Okay, you're right. But, how did you come up with the idea of this fund association? Can it be that it's really because of the words he said? Xiao Wei had a puzzled as well as disbelieving look on her face. Anyway, she was under the impression that Wei Xiao just didn't seem like a normal person, so what Zhang Haning said to her after he came back, Xiao Wei was also skeptical. However, as a laborer, she couldn't refuse her boss's request, so she could only do as she was told. As a result, she didn't expect that in just one afternoon, things had festered to this extent. It could be said that it completely exceeded Wei's original expectations. I just think that what Mr. Wei said makes sense. As the same Chinese people, I should do something for the motherland and the children. Also, Mr. Wei is really a person of very noble character. I hope you don't keep looking at him with colored glasses, that's disrespectful to him. Speaking later, Zhang Heining's face was already very serious. Seeing this, Xiao Wei was also a bit embarrassed. It's not that I don't understand the situation. Moreover, that Mr. Wei and you haven't known each other for long. Why does it feel like you're so familiar with him? Hearing this, Zhang Heining's face inexplicably blushed and hurriedly said, Confidant, do you understand? Good, confidant. Xiao Wei smiled and said, this time, the charity was done successfully, for your influence that is also a big plus. I've heard that several MIB corporate brands want to renegotiate the endorsement issue with you. The main thing is that they all want to raise the endorsement status of your side. Saying that, Vivian took out a bunch of documents. Take a look, pick and choose, if there's no problem I'll agree to all of them all. Zhang Haining looked at the brands helplessly. After confirming that there were no major problems, she returned the documents to Vivian. You take care of it, I don't know much about any of this. Xiao Wei proudly said, that's true, without me, you would have been sold to who knows where. Zhang Haining pretended to be fierce, so arrogant, be careful I'll fire you one day if I'm not happy. Xiao Wei pretended to be afraid, but suddenly went forward and pressed Zhang Haining onto the sofa in a burst of tickling. You come and fire me. You're going to die. Zhang Haining resisted for a while, but in the end, she couldn't defeat the other party, and was tickled by Vivian for a while, making a mess of laughter. I want you to fry me, let's see if you still dare. Laughter instantly spread throughout the large villa. CCTV Radio. As the national television station of China, at this time, several chief editors of news were gathered around, each looking at the document in front of them. The content of the document was simple. It was precisely the news about Zhang Haining. However, the editors-in-chief's expressions were different. Some were critical and sarcastic, some were thoughtful and silent, and some were excited and eager. What do you guys think? The Minister of Information couldn't help but ask as he looked at a few of his right-hand men. I think that this is a hype, completely meaningless. 5 million, it seems like a lot, but for these artists, in exchange for such a good reputation, it's undoubtedly a big profit. This kind of practice, I don't agree with it at all. The editor-in-chief with a sneer on his face opened his mouth. But as soon as his words fell, immediately another editor-in-chief returned. Previously, although Chinese artists, too, have done these things, the reaction was not as strong as this time. Why is that? You guys, look at this saying. When the youth is strong, the country is strong. I think that this sentence is the finishing touch, the reason why this incident, this time, is able to burst into flames. These two sentences have completely captured people's patriotic mentality, as well as the mentality of self-improvement. It can be said to have completely brought out the family and national sentiments of our 5,000 years of Chinese civilization. These words immediately gained the minister's approval. Finally, he turned his gaze to the editor-in-chief who was the happiest. I think that this sentence can be completely used in the national propaganda slogan. Over the years, civilized China has devoted itself to the cultivation system, the education system, and this phrase can completely play a leading role. If the propaganda is done properly, coupled with Zhang Haining's own influence on the youths, this time, it's likely to bring about a huge positive social impact. The minister was very satisfied and immediately stood up, announcing the results, saying, these words are exactly what I had in mind. I'll report it to the TV station afterward, if the application is approved. I intend to do a column, and the title will be A Strong Youth Makes a Strong Nation. The three chief editors stared at each other for a while. Even the one who was extremely dissatisfied at the very beginning had no retort at this moment. This kind of thing was something worth proclaiming for the entire country, and it was naturally impossible for everyone to sing against it. Chapter 30. Buying Clothes. Early the next morning, after Wei Xiao woke up, as soon as he opened his cell phone, he realized his own Feishan was almost on the verge of being taken over. Hubby Xiao Huang, people are off the air. Hubby Xiao Huang, are you sleeping? Xiao Huang husband, why are you sleeping so early? Hiu Wang's husband. There were dozens of messages spilling out. Good lord, it's a good thing I turned on the mute. Looking at this FMS attack, Wei Xiao secretly lamented his resourcefulness in his heart. Just woke up, I usually don't stay up too late. After replying to Min, Wei Xiao got up and took a shower, followed by changing into his clothes and preparing to go out. Wei Xiao planned to go and get herself 2 outfits today. Incidentally buying a house. After all, this moment's money could be spent casually. Wei Xiao intended to spend the money in a more meaningful way. Real estate, naturally, was a good investment. Moreover, he couldn't live in a rental house for the rest of his life. It didn't match his current status, either, didn't it? Opening a company can be slowed down first, the house still needs to be fixed first. With a good calculation in mind, Wei Xiao went out the door. At this moment, Wei Xiao is also a lot more generous, did not go to squeeze the bus again. Directly called a drop car. In a city like Magic City, taking a taxi is very expensive, the previous Wei Xiao didn't even bother. But now it's different, Wei Xiao has become generous. He took a taxi all the way to the Magic City Global Shopping Center. Wei Xiao looked at the imposing scene in front of him and subconsciously looked at himself. Well, his own outfit, when it comes to this, it's really not up to scratch. Must buy a formal dress, casual wear also have to come a little. Sitting in the elevator, Wei Xiao went all the way to the 3rd floor of the men's clothing area. Looking at the many famous brands, Wei Xiao's heart suddenly came up with a sentence. A man has to dress up. But Wei Xiao who just came to the 3rd floor. However, he was not very popular with the salesmen who stood outside the store door and were responsible for receiving customers. There was no way, at this moment, apart from his face, everything about Wei Xiao was too ordinary. It didn't look like he was here to buy clothes. However, even so, Wei Xiao's face value, which was powerful to the extreme, still attracted the attention of several young sales ladies. The sales ants were perhaps a bit more snobbish. But these young ladies were sincere. Which young miss would not like a handsome, dissipated and handsome little brother? Anyway, being idle was idle, and having a few words with someone, that was also extremely comforting. Lan Yu looked at the bewildered Wei Xiao, as well as the glowing eyes of the salesman of several clothing stores not far away. She made an instant decision and was the first to welcome them. This little brother, are you here to buy clothes? Lan Yu's voice was very nice, coupled with the fact that she was in her 20s, which was the golden age of youthful compulsion, making her look enthusiastic like a sunrise. When Wei Xiao saw this, he also felt a sense of comfort in his heart. He was also a very pure person. Which man would not like a pretty young lady to take the initiative? Oh no, it was taking the initiative to strike up a conversation. I'm going to buy 2 outfits. Wei Xiao said frankly. But I don't quite understand, are you a salesman? Lan Yu smiled faintly, not caring too much about the idea that Wei Xiao wanted to buy clothes, but explained. I'm a salesman at Louis Vuitton. What kind of clothes are you looking to buy? I can help you with recommendations. In Lan Yu's opinion, Wei Xiao should be unlikely to buy clothes from her house. The clothes in their house could easily cost tens of thousands, over 100,000, or even hundreds of thousands. For a guest dressed as a commoner like Wei Xiao, it usually didn't hold much appeal, but with one word, Wei Xiao subdued her. I want to buy the more expensive ones. Wei Xiao thought about it and compared her fingers. Preferably the kind that can attend big scenes. For the price, it's best to be around 5 figures to 6 figures. Lan Yu looked at Wei Xiao's gesturing fingers, her ears listening to the 5-figure and 6-figure sayings. She suddenly had a feeling of being screwed. But good professionalism, coupled with Wei Xiao's super capable face value, still kept her from getting angry. Sir, are you serious? Lan Yu subconsciously asked. Of course, I'm serious. Wei Xiao made a serious expression. JPG. Seeing this, Lan Yu could only believe Wei Xiao's words for the time being. Then you can come to our home to take a look. As a world-renowned men's clothing brand, I think you should be able to find your favorite type with us. With a hint of unreality in her head, Lan Yu led Wei Xiao into her store. As soon as he entered, Manager Gao, who was sitting at the front desk, was frowning. With just one glance, the 40-something-year-old Manager Gao could tell that Wei Xiao was wearing ground-level goods. Such a guest would normally not spend half a dime even if he entered the store. Manager, I'll show the guest around. Lan Yu also noticed the manager's dissatisfied gaze and immediately explained. Manager Gao nodded casually and followed, no longer bothering with the two. She didn't have the heart to care about this kind of waste of time. Sir, you come with me this way. Lan Yu brought Wei Xiao, who had a curious look on his face, to the upscale section of the store. After all, Wei Xiao had said that he was going to buy 5 to 6 figure clothes. It was natural for Lan Yu to be mindful of the customer's thoughts. Sir, the clothes here are all internationally popular this year. Lan Yu pointed at the rows and rows of expensive suits, as well as casual clothes, and explained to Wei Xiao these pieces are the latest models introduced by French clothing designers this year. Apart from our family, it's also hard to see them outside. You can take a look. Normally, Lan Yu would say at this time to let the other party try it on. Of course, the clothes to try were all display models. But even then, Lan Yu did not offer to let Wei Xiao try them on. Instead, she let Wei Xiao take a look. Can I try it on? Wei Xiao curiously said, in his opinion buying clothes that definitely have to try on. If you don't try it on, how do you know if it looks good or not, and if it doesn't fit? But Lan Yu was a bit confused. She felt that Wei Xiao was just here to have a good time. So she was willing to lead Wei Xiao to have a look, but didn't want Wei Xiao to try on the clothes. Just from Manager Gao's icy gaze, Lan Yu could think of it. Just in case Wei Xiao didn't buy anything in a while and left, she would have to face a long shot but looking at Wei Xiao's face. Well, Lan Yu was still greedy. Such a good-looking little brother. Forget it, just die. Lan Yu, who had just been on the job for no more than 5 months, finally made a decision. Just scold it. Isn't it just a scolding? Who hasn't been scolded by a leader? Then you wait a moment. Lan Yu smiled and briefly gestured at Wei Xiao for a while, following which she took out 2 pieces of display clothing. These 2 pieces go best with your body type, you can try them on. Lan Yu had a smile on her face, looking at Wei Xiao with some embarrassment. Thanks. Wei Xiao took the clothes and ran to the fitting room in a flash. Little Blue. Just the next second Wei Xiao entered the fitting room. Manager Gao walked over with a serious face. The smile on Lan Yu's face instantly disappeared. Alas, in order to see more of the human handsome man's face, it wasn't easy for himself. With a bitter face, Lan Yu turned her head. What she saw face to face was the murderous aura that filled Manager Gao's face. Chapter 31. I'm in a hurry. Little Blue, what's wrong with you? Manager Gao was very dissatisfied. Bringing an unimpressive guest to visit the store was even worse. He also really let someone try on the clothes. Not to mention whether or not the other person would buy it. In case there was a problem when trying on the clothes, what should be done? Just enter the fitting room. Guests of that dress, he can afford to pay? Manager, people said they came to buy clothes. Lan Yu lowered her head and explained in a small voice. It's not good for me to not let people try it on. Nonsense. Manager Gao's face sank, containing hidden anger. It's not your first day here, can't you even look at the guests? Such a guest, can he afford it? Manager Gao lowered his voice, but Lan Yu heard it with trepidation. However, thinking back to Wei Xiao's words when she entered, Lan Yu still mustered her courage. I brought him here after he said he wanted to buy 5 to 6 digit clothes. Really, manager, the guest has said so, I can't just kick the person out, right? Manager Gao's expression froze for 2 seconds, followed by growing anger. These days, how can youngsters be so braggadocious? Manager, you're swearing. Do I call this swearing? It's called the truth. Okay, manager. That guest should be changing soon. You have to give me an explanation when the person leaves. Lan Shuiyu sent Manager Gao back to the front desk, and the heart hanging in her heart finally fell. These days, how can licking a face be so aggravating? In her heart, she was just thinking nonsense. When Lan Yu turned her head, she saw Wei Xiao, who walked out from the fitting room. For a moment, Lan Yu's breath was held. The Wei Xiao who had changed into formal wear, her entire temperament was very different from before. If the previous Wei Xiao was simply handsome, then the Wei Xiao who had changed his clothes now, in addition to being handsome, there was more than a hint of calmness and atmosphere, and his temperament was extraordinary. To put it simply, that is, the current Wei Xiao did not look like an ordinary person. Even the expression on Lan Yu's face was a bit infatuated as she looked at him. Does this body look good? Wei Xiao waved his hand at Lan Yu, pulling him back to reality while not forgetting to look at himself in the mirror. But it had to be said that Wei Xiao was really fuzzy about the line of looking good. He only felt as if he looked better than before. But exactly how, he couldn't say. Well, it just felt as if it was getting better. Ah, oh. Lan Yu snapped back to his senses and hurriedly said. Well, good looking, sir, you wear this very good looking. Lan Yu silently added in her heart, I'm afraid this can even go on the red carpet in Vimy. Wei Xiao was in a much better mood when he heard someone praising himself. Are there any other clothes? Wei Xiao looked at the many clothes and couldn't help but ask. Can I try something else? Lan Yu hesitated slightly. Manager Gao was already unhappy, and if she didn't stop Wei Xiao at this moment, then she was afraid that she wouldn't have much good fruit to eat. However, she still couldn't help but agree to Wei Xiao's request. At this moment, Lan Yu herself couldn't tell what kind of feeling she had. It was as if it was hard for her to refuse Wei Xiao's request, it was very subtle. A young girl's feelings were always spring, or maybe it was Wei Xiao's powerful charm attribute, which unfolded at this time. Lan Yu ghostly took 2 new dresses down, handed them to Wei Xiao. When Manager Gao, who was not far away, saw this scene, his eyes began to flame. This little girl, why is she so unintelligent? With a full of anger, Manager Gao walked over in big strides. Finally, he was able to stop Wei Xiao before she entered the fitting room. That, sir. Manager Gao called out to Wei Xiao. But the moment Wei Xiao turned back, Manager Gao froze just like Lan Yu earlier. How long has it been since one has not seen such a handsome and sunny beautiful boy? Manager Gao's heart gave birth to such a thought for no reason. But this thought was quickly suppressed by her. Her son was in high school, and his heart was naturally not comparable to a young girl like Lan Yu. Although Manager Gao was also a little reluctant to open her mouth. But her strong professionalism still caused her to hesitate before forcing herself to ask, Sir, look at the clothes you just tried, are you still satisfied? Wei Xiao looked at the high manager in front of her, who squeezed out a smile, and frowned. Pretty good, what's wrong? That, Mr. Manager Gao said without haste. It's like this, sir. The one you just tried on is a display dress. If you find it satisfactory, I'll have someone go to the warehouse to confirm and see if there's a size for this one. Look, do I need to pack it for you in advance? Manager Gao's words were very mellow. In her opinion, she had sight-tested whether Wei Xiao had the ability to buy. She also dispelled the other party's intention to continue trying on clothes. It could be called perfect. However, Wei Xiao was strange and said, I just tried one, I still want to continue to look at it. In Wei Xiao's opinion, it was natural to buy clothes that you liked and looked good. He only tried one at this moment, and naturally wanted to take another look. Manager Gao's expression was stagnant, he never thought that the guest in front of him would be so difficult to deal with. However, the high manager is also an old man, immediately opened his mouth and said, It's my presumptuousness, I don't know how much you expect, sir? We can also help you recommend it. Wei Xiao said in dissatisfaction. Didn't I say that within $1 million, I can accept it? This time, not only Manager Gao, even Lan Yu froze. Earlier, Wei Xiao also said 6 figures, but she didn't take it seriously at all. However, now, looking at Wei Xiao's serious appearance, Lan Yu's heart beat wildly. Salesman, earning his commission. If Wei Xiao was really like what he said, so able to consume her performance today, what's the point? Just as Manager Gao was also silently digesting Wei Xiao's words, Wei Xiao's cell phone suddenly rang. Unlocking it, it turned out to be Lu Kai. Wei Xiao was happy in his heart and immediately tapped to connect. Hello? Hello? May I ask if this is Mr. Wei? I am. Wei Xiao looked at the 2 sales next to him, and after thinking about it, he didn't change places and directly said into the phone. Something wrong? It's not a big deal. On the other side of the phone, Lu Kai enthusiastically said. It is your car, we expedited to you, shipped over, you look at the 2 days free? Wei Xiao was first stunned, followed by is happy to say. The BMW I bought arrived so quickly? On the side, Lan Yu and Manager Gao instantly entered a petrified state when they heard this. Yes, if you're free, you'll be able to finish all the follow-ups in the next 2 days. On the other side of the phone, Lu Kai continued happily. Well, good, I'm currently at the global shopping center buying clothes, it might take a while before I have time. There's no rush, why don't I go pick you up? By the way, I'll treat you to lunch, do you think it's convenient? You're welcome, I'll treat you. Wei Xiao rejected the other party's good intentions and said directly. Take your pick of the place, I'll buy clothes first. Hanging up the phone, Wei Xiao turned his head to look at the two sales who had not yet slowed down. I'm going to get a license plate or something for my car in a while. Can you guys recommend something more efficient for me? I'm in a hurry. Chapter 32: The Most Expensive Restaurant. The next thing that came next became simple. Manager Gao directly brought Wei Xiao and took out the most upscale and expensive clothes in the store. It was a good thing that Wei Xiao was busy and just picked 5 or 6 pieces and tried them on. I think they're all pretty good. Wei Xiao looked at those clothes she just tried with satisfaction and waved her hand. Pack it all up. At this point, Manager Gao no longer doubted Wei Xiao's purchasing power. However, compared to the smiling Manager Gao, Lan Yu's face was a bit odd. Wei Xiao was a guest she brought into the store, so she should be the one to receive him. That way, when the time comes to calculate the performance, it is also good to count. But now Manager Gao cut off halfway. And look at this situation. Lan Yu vaguely had a hint of bad premonition. As expected, Lan Yu just had this thought. Manager Gao came up and asked for Wei Xiao's number in FMS. Blue Yu's brain rumbled, knowing that today's matter is feared to be a problem. But she is a small sales, how can she dare to expose Manager Gao to his face? Wei Xiao was in a good mood and ready to pay. At this time, seeing the high manager want their own FMS, also noticed the previous reception of their own little girl Lan Yu. No need, I'll just add her FMS. Wei Xiao bypassed Manager Gao and came in front of Lan Yu. At this moment, under the shine of the spotlight, Lan Yu only felt that Wei Xiao was so handsome and tall, and his smile was so charismatic. I'll sweep you, right? Wei Xiao took out his cell phone and gently waved it in front of Lan Yu's eyes. Lan Yu immediately opened Fishin in excitement. You sweep me on it. After sweeping the Fishin, Wei Xiao thought of some sales situations he had encountered in his past life. After a pause, Wei Xiao added. The clothes I bought today are all counted on her, right? Wei Xiao asked to Manager Gao while pointing at Lan Yu beside her. This. Manager Gao was a bit hesitant. If it was usual, she wouldn't have done so. After all, in principle, she wasn't supposed to rob her employees of their performance. But such a big patron, she was a woman and had a son below her. So at this time, Manager Gao was naturally unwilling to let go. Wei Xiao also perceived the problem and immediately said. If it doesn't count for her, then there's no need to pack it. Saying this, Wei Xiao made a gesture to leave. Sir. When Manager Gao heard this, he immediately became anxious. That naturally counts on Lan Yu, you are the one she brought into the store. Manager Gao accompanied a smile and said stiffly. If she really let Wei Xiao leave the store, at that time, if this matter was known by the store manager, she would be able to hand in her resignation letter. Compared to robbing customers, forcing away big customers is a real taboo. Alright, pack it up. Seeing that things were settled, Wei Xiao didn't say anything more. Only, Lan Yu on the side, when she looked at Wei Xiao at this time, her eyes misted up. Handsome, sunny, multi-gold. Also protected her. How could this make Lan Yu not be moved? However, she also knew that she was just a salesperson, while the other party was a customer. Therefore, Lan Yu held back her heart's excitement, joy, and the trace of marvelous emotions. It was only after a flurry of packing and organizing that Lan Yu appeared in front of Wei Xiao again. Sir, there are a total of 6 sets, totaling 2,700,000. Lan Yu smiled and said, I've already counted the discounts for you, and the zeros have also been erased for you for the event. Wei Xiao also smiled and said, thank you. After receiving the large bag, Wei Xiao turned around and intended to leave. Mr. Lan Yu looked at Wei Xiao's back, and then remembered that she didn't know the other party's name yet. But previously, Lan Yu was so preoccupied with Wei Xiao's face that she didn't think of this matter until this time. For a professional sales, this was simply a huge failure. Sir, I'm still not sure of your name. Lan Yu asked with a red face. Oh, my name is Wei Xiao. Wei Xiao said with amusement, your name is Lan Yu, your manager just said it. While saying that, Wei Xiao also opened Fishin and waved it in front of the other party's eyes. I've all made a note of it. Lan Yu felt a burst of happiness for no reason and nodded her head happily. Let's go, come back to buy clothes. Seeing Wei Xiao leave the store, Lan Yu was unable to return to her senses for a long time. Hey, I say you girl, you can do it. The other salesman on duty was also busy with his own business at this moment, and immediately ran over to join in the fun. Big Boss bought almost 3 million at once. Your performance this month shall not go to heaven I counted. Gosh, your commission this month has to be. Lan Yu interrupted her colleague's excited words and helplessly said. People are gone. Just go away, people buy clothes, not go and wait for you to treat dinner The colleague's words hit Lan Yu like a bolt of lightning, shocking her in place. Yes, people buy so expensive clothes, I invite people to eat a meal, always not too much. Thinking like this, the sadness caused by the matter of Wei Xiao leaving instantly became worthless. What are you laughing at? Seeing Lan Yu start giggling again, her co-workers couldn't help but wonder. Manager Gao's face doesn't look very good, don't say I didn't remind you. Only then did Lan Yu put away her smile. Looking at the high manager in front of the counter, that was like a constipated expression. The corners of Lan Yu's mouth, however, unconsciously curled up slightly once again. Actually, Wei Xiao was quite annoying. Carrying 6 bags in 2 hands was honestly still in the way. After thinking about it, Wei Xiao directly threw the old set of clothes that he changed into the mall's trash can. Well, even so, his hands were still full. Originally, he had planned to buy 2 more watches today. However, considering that Lu Kai was about to arrive, Wei Xiao dismissed the idea. Let's talk about it later. With his newly bought clothes, Wei Xiao didn't wait for a few minutes before he saw Lu Kai's car on the road outside the mall. Lu Kai's own car was only about 100,000, not a good car, let alone a luxury car. But Wei Xiao didn't mind too much. Mr. Wei, my car is a bit broken, I hope you don't mind. Lu Kai was actually a bit nervous. In his opinion, Wei Xiao must be a rich second generation from some big boss's family. Either that or he had an extraordinary background. So Lu Kai was a little worried that the other party wouldn't get into his car. But his worries were ultimately redundant. Wei Xiao not only got into the car, but also very happy. Throwing the big bags and small bags in his hands on the back seat, Wei Xiao hurriedly said. What to eat, have you thought about it yet? In Wei Xiao's opinion, he was going to trouble someone else next, so he naturally had to be polite. Inviting a meal was nothing. But Lu Kai didn't think so. When Wei Xiao bought a car, he earned tens of thousands of dollars in commission. How can he ask Wei Xiao to treat him to dinner? But without waiting for Lu Kai to open his mouth, Wei Xiao's next sentence blocked all his words. I usually don't eat out much. Wei Xiao revealed a difficult expression and subconsciously said. Do you know where the most expensive restaurant in Magic City is? P.S. Here I go again. Kneeling down to ask for a 5-star review, the author is here to give you all a big thank you. Chapter 33, I will definitely not cause you trouble. In the end, Wei Xiao still couldn't make it to the most expensive restaurant in Magic City. Under Lu Kai's strong request, the two went to a Japanese restaurant that Lu Kai had heard of. As one of the most famous things on the island, the Japanese restaurant was still quite prestigious. But anyway, Wei Xiao hadn't eaten much right. Mostly, he still swiped videos and watched TV before he could see those so-called Japanese food. Looking at the classical and modern decorations in front of him, Wei Xiao also had to say one thing: it looks expensive. But price is something that Wei Xiao now doesn't care much about anymore. Just like the old saying goes. Expensive things only have the disadvantage of being expensive, and cheap things only have the advantage of being cheap. He wasn't short of money right now, so what was wrong with spending some money to eat something good? You can take a look at the menu. Lu Kai roughly scanned the menu and then hurriedly handed it to Wei Xiao. With Lu Kai's actual situation, he had also hardly ever been to such a high-class restaurant before in his life. The reason why Lu Kai would know about this place was still because he heard the store manager mention it when he was eating once. According to his intention, he naturally didn't want to come to such an expensive place. But Wei Xiao all opened her mouth to ask, where is the most expensive restaurant in Magic City? Lu Kai could only say this, in his opinion, the top Japanese restaurant in Magic City. Wei Xiao looked at the menu and without even thinking about it, he called the waiter waiting at the side. There's only 2 of us, so you'll watch the order for us at the most expensive price. After saying that, Wei Xiao threw the menu to the waiter. This action made even the waiter look dumbfounded. It was the first time he had encountered such a customer. But at this moment, Wei Xiao was already changed into newly bought clothes. It looked rich and expensive. So the waiter didn't think much about it and asked with a smile. Our restaurant is best known for its sashimi and sea urchin, you can consider it, sir. In addition, we also have caviar flown in from Gaul, as well as foie gras. For the drinks, we also have red wines from Bluefields Winery that are more than 10 years old in our store. Do you think it's okay as well? Facing the waiter's recommendation, Wei Xiao listened with a nod. Well, then let's do as you say. The waiter then smiled and nodded, turned around and pushed the door away. Only Lu Kai was left sitting in his seat with a hard look on his face. He was prepared to invite Wei Xiao for dinner. But according to Wei Xiao's just so much ordering of food, he was afraid that he couldn't afford to invite. Wei Xiao also noticed Lu Kai's dissimilarity and immediately laughed. I said, I'll treat today. Lu Kai was both grateful and guilty. Such a generous and affable patron, it was the first time he, Lu Kai, had seen it after practicing for so long. Where were the usual rich second-generation guys as good-tempered and talkative as Wei Xiao? Even for certain older bosses, there were few who were like Wei Xiao, so kind to the heart. Mr. Wei, I'm really sorry. Lu Kai was moved and said. As a matter of fact, I really should be the one to treat you to dinner today. Wei Xiao, however, waved his hand. Next time you pick a place in advance and just talk to me a day or two in advance. Lu Kai nodded heavily. Okay. Wei Xiao took a sip of the free drink provided by the store and suddenly remembered the issue of the car. Right, are you going to many places today? Lu Kai nodded. That's right, going to get a license plate in a while. There's still some formalities to go through, so I guess it'll take a while. Wei Xiao drifted off and asked afterward. Can you drink then? Lu Kai hesitated for 2 seconds, but in the end, he didn't refuse. Just get a chauffeur. Wei Xiao happily said, that's fine, it's no fun to drink alone. A meal that Wei Xiao ate happily. What had to be said was that the dishes of this Japanese restaurant were really high-end and the flavor was excellent. The food Wei Xiao ate was a burst of praise. As for the checkout, Wei Xiao didn't have the slightest hesitation. Only Lu Kai looked at the bill with 5 digits hanging from it and had some regrets. In one meal, the two of them had eaten more than $20,000. That bottle of red wine alone was more than $10,000. Lu Kai felt overwhelmed. Let's go. After settling the bill, Wei Xiao turned to Lu Kai and said. The chauffeur had already been found and was waiting outside the store. Back in the car, the idle Wei Xiao finally had the time to look at his cell phone twice. Mean. Xiao Huang husband, people just got up. Oh. You slept so early. Oh, people usually stay up until late. By the way, Xiao Huang husband, where are you from? Are you from Magic City? I'm from Mordor. If you have the chance, you can come out and have a meal together. Lan Yu. Mr. Wei, how busy are you? Thank you so much for today. The manager counted the performance to me, that. Do you think you'll be free any day? Can I treat you to a meal? Consider it a thank you. Looking at the two women coincidentally wanting to invite themselves for dinner FMS. As well as Lu Kai beside him who was also planning to invite himself for dinner, Wei Xiao couldn't help but be confused for a while. These people, why do they like to invite people to dinner so much? Opening his FMS, Wei Xiao started replying one by one. Reply me in, I'm in Magic City, but dinner might have to be put off, I have something in the next 2 days. Reply to Lan Yu, you're welcome, it's not easy for you to work, let's talk about it when we have the chance. After replying to these two women who are not too familiar with each other, Wei Xiao was just about to take a break. The cell phone rang again. This time, it was a phone call. The one calling was Xiao Wei. But Wei Xiao's instincts told him. It must be Jiang Haning calling. With a hint of gravity, as well as a hint of vigilance, Wei Xiao gently pressed the answer button. Hello? Hello? Is this Mr. Wei Xiao? I am, what's wrong? Oh, nothing, just wanted to ask you. Ask what? That. Have you watched the news? Zhang Hanying paused and added, it's on Weibo, those headlines that caught fire today. Didn't look. Wei Xiao frowned slightly, he went out as soon as he woke up from his nap, how would he have time to brush Weibo? What's wrong, did something happen? No. It's just that. Over at Jingdian, there's a message for me. Said they intend to invite me to shoot a promotional video for them. The name is. When the youth is strong, the country is strong. When Wei Xiao heard this, he couldn't help but freeze. What the hell? The national radio station was going to make a promo? Using or lulling yourself? No, it isn't Jiang Hanying chat, said the words to do the theme. After a long time of silence, Wei Xiao slowly spoke. Then just go ahead and shoot it. I think that the words were told to me by you, and I think it's necessary to talk to you. Jiang Hanying said somewhat nervously. It won't cause you any trouble, will it? Wei Xiao thought for a while and suddenly said seriously, it will be a bit troublesome. In order to avoid getting deeper and deeper into the issue with Jiang Hanying, Wei Xiao said on the spot. I don't want this matter to involve me. Jiang Hanying's hand froze for 2 seconds before asking. You mean? Wei Xiao sighed. It means that you should shoot it. But don't say it to anyone, that line was from me. Jiang Hanying, who was sitting on the sofa and was restless, heard this. Immediately sat up straight and said seriously. You can rest assured, Mr. Wei. I will definitely not cause you any trouble. Chapter 34, Ordering Takeout, of course. After ending the call, Wei Xiao fell into deep thought. Regarding what Jiang Hanying said, Wei Xiao was very skeptical. This woman was simply a fighter amongst troubles. From the time Wei Xiao planned to cut off contact with the other party until now, he had always been able to sever the connection between the two in the beginning. Because of the discharge from the hospital, the two had met for the first time. Later, because of the compensation money, they got involved again. Then because of the compensation money used in the Mountain Children, the matter has been on the hot search, was Wei Xiao see. Well, now the hot search is over. People directly in CCTV bridge also used his words as the theme of the promo. According to this rhythm, Wei Xiao felt that Jiang Hanying should soon be able to get in touch with the aliens in outer space. And looking at the trend, by that time, I'm only afraid that I'll have to be dragged into it as well. This makes Wei Xiao somewhat unacceptable, and even more incomprehensible. You say you're a top Asian star. You don't sing, you don't dance, you don't make movies and TV dramas. Why do you have to get involved with yourself once you make some noise? Taking a deep breath, Wei Xiao forcibly erased Jiang Hanying's appearance from his mind, and only then did his mood become a little better. I've made it so obvious. You're not going to make a scene again, right? Praying silently in his heart, Wei Xiao finally arrived at his destination after resting for a while. In the afternoon, with Lu Kai's help and guidance, Wei Xiao not only successfully met his car, but also got a series of formalities for his car. However, both he and Lu Kai had been drinking, so wanting to drive back was impossible. After briefly saying goodbye to Lu Kai, Wei Xiao found a chauffeur. After the chauffeur drove the car into the shabby neighborhood where Wei Xiao currently lived, the chauffeur guy was a bit confused. Looking at the retro last-century picture of the building in front of him, the guy looked down at the car he was driving again. Sir, are you sure your family lives here? The chauffeur guy was still unsure and asked again, this is it. Wei Xiao pushed the door and got out of the car, casually saying, this is the house I rented, it's a bit old. The guy listened to this explanation from Wei Xiao and became even more confused. Driving a $2 million car and still need to rent a house to live in? These days, rich people really know how to play. After scanning the code and paying the money, Wei Xiao carried the clothes she bought and went upstairs alone. The building was a bit cold and clear. Cold and clear, that kind of cold. The climate in Magic City at the end of June was extremely harsh. One day the sun is shining, the next day the temperature suddenly plummets. So as soon as he returned home, Wei Xiao first took a hot bath. After that, he fell headfirst onto the bed. After a busy day, he only did 2 things. Buying clothes, plus getting the car problem solved. Summoning the system, Wei Xiao looked at the mission objective. There was still 28 million left to complete the current mission. $90 million, that's enough to buy a nice house in Magic City. Wei Xiao was a bit unsure. He had read a piece of news in his previous life. It was a news about a famous actress who auctioned off her mansion after being blocked for her misconduct. That house of hers was priced right around $150 million, and it was also asking for $130 million when it changed hands. So Wei Xiao wasn't sure if she had enough money on hand to buy a mansion. As for that kind of multi-million-dollar house, Wei Xiao was really not interested right now. Why would he buy a $9 million house when he could buy a $90 million house? Buy 10 sets and switch them around? As Wei Xiao thought about it, he couldn't help but think of Zhang Haining. Well, if this woman wasn't really troublesome, he could indeed ask the other party. In Zhang Haining's case, she was definitely clear about the prices of luxury properties in Magic City. However, Wei Xiao just thought about it and didn't even have the idea of contacting Zhang Haining. He couldn't wait to stay away from that woman. Lying on his bed and brushing his Weibo for a while, Wei Xiao indeed saw Zhang Haining's figure once again. This omnipresent woman had indeed been invited by CCTV. The news was all out. Wei Xiao roughly scanned the news and immediately had a number. The meaning of the news was simple: it was preparing to make a short promotional video and was interested in inviting Zhang Haining to star in it. Although it wasn't official news, the channel was self-media, but it said that it had a nose for it. Thinking back to the afternoon, Zhang Haining called. Wei Xiao knew that this matter was true in all probability. Looking at the comment area, a burst of great comments, Wei Xiao silently backed out. He did not have the habit of sniping. In his previous life, Wei Xiao was the most disliked keyboard warrior, not waiting for Wei Xiao to be idle. Just opened Feishan. A message ding dong ding 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 in succession. It was still from Mian and Lan Yu. Mian had sent quite a few in the afternoon, but Wei Xiao was busy at that moment, so he didn't read them. At this moment, Mian was also preparing to go live, so the messages stopped. On the contrary, it was Lan Yu who didn't send many messages in the afternoon, probably also busy. But it was estimated that it was off duty at this moment. The messages were sent several times in a row. Roughly, they also asked Wei Xiao if her clothes were still satisfactory, and when she was free, so she could invite her to have a meal and so on. Between words, quite enthusiastic. Wei Xiao also vaguely felt the difference between himself and the past. In his 2 lifetimes, he had never been initiated by a girl like this. But now, the change was simply not too obvious. Well, it should be because I'm rich. No, it's the relationship that they think I'm rich. Thinking of this, Wei Xiao couldn't help but frown again. Mian might have valued his money, but that wasn't the case with Lan Yu. The first time he had just met Lan Yu, his body could be full of ground floor goods. It was unlikely that the other party could tell that he had money to be right. Charisma value seems to have played a role as well. Thinking of this, Wei Xiao only felt a pang of bitterness. I told you that this hidden attribute would be useful? It's not like he was going to be a star, so if he wanted to look that good, he might as well have higher luck. Sighing silently, Wei Xiao opened the chat box between him and Lan Yu. Clicking to reply to the message, Wei Xiao typed. In a few days. You're off work here? Lan Yu, who had just arrived home, was lazily lying on the sofa of the rental house. After standing all day, Lan Yu felt that her waist was about to break. But just at this moment, the cell phone rang only to see Blue Yu, who was lying on the sofa, leaping up and holding the cell phone. Tapping on the FMS, it was indeed that man who had messaged himself back. In a few days. You're off work here? Looking at these 2 messages, Lan Yu's breathing stopped. Thinking left and right and left. Lan Yu crackled and typed, then kept on doing it, and finally clicked send with a feigned calmness. Off work, just arrived home. Waited for half a day. Looking at the other party is typing prompt on the chat box. Wei Xiao thought that Lan Yu's end was writing a paper. However, he didn't expect that what he waited for was such a short sentence. Off work, just arrived home. Wei Xiao thought about it and thought that it must be because the other party was tired. Didn't see that the person couldn't even type well. Well, hard work. Take an early rest, we'll talk again later when we're free. After typing, Wei Xiao exited Feishan. He hadn't ordered takeout for dinner yet. Chapter 35, Getting Things Done. Wei Xiao spent $1,000 and ordered a luxurious dinner. Then, he found a drama of this world and watched it. Eating a meal and watching a drama was undoubtedly one of life's great pleasures. The drama was an old one, a comedy type, and it made Wei Xiao look happy for a while. Just then, his phone rang. Opening his cell phone, Wei Xiao couldn't help but pop up a head of question marks. It was his cheap cousin calling. Hello? Hello? Brother. Yo, why did you suddenly think of calling me? Ha 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 ha, I'm planning to come to Magic City for a few days to see you. Upon hearing this, Wei Xiao couldn't help but raise the corners of his mouth. Come on you, say, what the hell are you doing in Magic City? Nothing much, just something. I might have to stay at your place for a few days when the time comes. Do not say? Then go find your own place to live. Don't, brother. Okay. Xiaoqing said she misses me, and I'm thinking that there's not much to do in my old home. Wei Xiao's expression froze slightly. This image, he also had déjà vu. Once upon a time, he and Chen Shui, wasn't this how they came to be? The difference was that at that time, Wei Xiao was much more frugal and had no place to live. After thinking about it, Wei Xiao said, "Alright, when are you coming over?" "Tomorrow. I booked a high-speed train, leaving early in the morning and arriving at noon." "Well, give me a call when you arrive, I'll pick you up." "Okay, thanks brother. By the way, you've talked to my aunt about this, right?" Said it, brother, don't worry, I'm not sneaking out." "Well, that's all for now then." Hanging up the phone, Wei Xiao fell into thought. In his life, he was not an orphan. Compared to those protagonists whose parents had sacrificed themselves to the heavens and had unlimited magical powers, Wei Xiao's parents were both alive. It was only that after the two divorced a few years ago, they didn't care too much about him, as all this was what allowed Wei Xiao to immediately devote himself to his work as soon as he graduated. The problem is that I'm not the same as before. It's okay to fool the outside world, but the family can't be fooled. There has to be an explanation sooner or later. Forget it, let's wait until Xiao Chen arrives. Xiao Chen is Wei Xiao's cousin, full name is Yi Chen. Is a pretty good child, people understand, and clever, and Wei Xiao since childhood is relatively close. Only in the past few years, with both of them going to college, the contact is naturally much less. Interestingly, the two brothers' universities are in the Magic City, but Wei Xiao is 2 years older than Yi Chen. By the time school starts in the fall, Yi Chen will be a junior. Girlfriend Wen Qing, Wei Xiao also met a side, more well-behaved type, Magic City local. To be honest, in exchange for the previous Wei Xiao, is very not optimistic about this relationship between the two. There is no way, who let Yi Chen's family is penniless, and his family has a fight? Not to mention buying a house in a place like Mordor, it was hard enough to buy a house in his hometown. In this future, even if the two were together, it would still be difficult. However, it's different now. Wei Xiao looked out the window with deep eyes, intending to see his younger sibling again when he had the chance. If the person was really good, then naturally anything was good. But if it is in Chen Shui like all the Wei goods, then Wei Xiao will have to help Yi Chen gatekeeper. In Wei Xiao's intention, in the future, when the company is opened, the probability is that it will be thrown to his own cheap brother to manage. The character of Yi Chen's girlfriend is very important. After calculating Yi Chen's problems for a while, Wei Xiao habitually went on the wharfish to shop. But this time, he quietly set his status to invisible. Moreover, Wei Xiao didn't go directly to watch me live this time. Instead, he looked for a big anchor in the gaming zone, Shu. Shu was a big anchor in the host area, which was considered to be relatively top stream. Personal style is also good, Wei Xiao also quite happy to see. The reason why I came to see Shu broadcast game is Wei Xiao after careful consideration. Wei Xiao is planning to open a company next, so he naturally needs to have a direction. For now, it seems that his intention is to open a game company. It was quick to come up with money and quick to spend it. Very much in line with Wei Xiao's purpose of spending money quickly. And even if he lost money making games, he wouldn't attract too much attention. How many people who made games had never lost money? Shu's live broadcast was an RPG-type survival game. It tells the story of the protagonist, as one of the few remaining humans, struggling to survive in a world swarming with zombies after the end of the world. It's also considered a game LP that has continued to be hot for the past few years. But under the hellish difficulty set by Shu. The male protagonist in the game, however, once again fell under the tide of corpses on the 10th day. The death could be considered quite miserable. Brother Shu, change the difficulty. Coming, Season 6 ready. Crap, I peed and came back and it's over. Wei Xiao mixed in with the crowd and was also very joyful. Watching people play games was nothing but two effects. One was that the human anchor was awesome and the game was interesting to watch. The second was that the human anchor was hilarious, and even if he kept dying, people were happy to watch. Even a lot of people do not want to anchor powerful, but especially love to see the anchored game overturn scene. Like this moment, Shu is going to reopen the file again. The pop-up screen is as hot as the New Year Inema. Ah Shu looked at the 3 big words "you're dead" on the screen and couldn't help but say angrily. This was already the 6th time he had flipped tonight. However, as a veteran anchor, Ah Shu directly and immediately opened a new gear. Wei Xiao mixed in the crowd, thought about it and swiped 2 super rockets for someone. It was considered a small wave of support for the person. Holy shit, there's even an emperor in the live broadcast. This is Emperor Xiao. Why didn't Emperor Xiao go to Min's place and ran to Brother Shu's place? Many people in the pop-up screen recognized Wei Xiao, while some didn't know what was going on at all. However, as an anchor, Shu knew that in the past 2 days, the battlefish was very hot Xiaohuang legend. But this boss, do not always watch female anchors? Ah Shu's eyes rolled for a while, and he immediately thanked loudly. Thank you for the 2 super rockets from Boss Xiaohuang. Thank you, Boss Atmosphere, Boss broke the bank. Game anchors were different from dance anchors in that their gifts were usually very small. A week's worth of gift income might sometimes not be as much as a human dance anchor's 1 PK. The environment made it so. The game is quite interesting. Wei Xiao typed. It's good that the boss likes it. Ah Shu was a bit embarrassed and said. It's just that this hellish difficulty does mess with people's minds a bit. Ah Shu said with a helpless face, while the pop-ups were all heckling. Change the difficulty. We don't suffer from this anger anymore. It's fine, it's just a new season. It's predicted that we'll be able to open the file 50 times tonight. Wei Xiao looked at the cheerful atmosphere, but silently clicked on Shu's avatar. Clicking on it, he sent a private message from Battlefish. Wei Xiao wasn't here to simply watch the live broadcast tonight, he was here to do business.